Okay. Is it a hump or a drop? What do you say? You've got to twist your words in every which way, because the model will always dictate what you do. Everybody knows that you've got the model affliction blues. Is it a straight line, or does it curve? Some people don't clamp it, but that is absurd. We all know that the model dictates what you do, and everybody knows that you've got the model affliction blues. Model affliction, it's your addiction. Model affliction, it brings you so much pain. It's your ball and chain. Conflating curvature with elevation change. Just got your local distance just out of range. That old key is gonna dictate everything that you do. And everybody knows that you've got the model affliction blues. Model affliction, it's your addiction. Model affliction, it brings you so much pain, and it's your ball and chain. It's your decision defending the model position. You just don't know the geometric proposition. That old ball will always be illogical to you. That's why perpendicularity is a puzzle to you. Model affliction, it's your addiction. That old model affliction, it brings you so much pain. It's your ball and chain. And everybody knows that you've got the model affliction blues.
Works really good with this guitar.
Is it a hump or a drop? What do you say? You got to twist your words in every which way. We all know that the model dictates what you do. Well, we know you got it, the model affliction. Model affliction. Model affliction. Model affliction. affliction blue.
And we are live. Welcome, everyone. Try thinking. Sort of changing a little bit for the model affliction rate. The learning procedures got all been and done, and the model that affects everyone. There's millions of them, millions of different models, and all of these models, they affect the way that you process information if you don't keep a check on them. That's what hopefully we're going to end up doing. Now, you may have been used to us hanging around a certain group of people. Now, that isn't because we were hanging around them. That's because they are obsessed with us. And we'll go over a few of the things that the reasons why these people are obsessed with us, not the other way around at all. Now, last on Friday we went over a video about Fight the Flat Earth. Now, Fight the Flat Earth is severely model afflicted. Nobody can deny that. It's even in his name, the aggressiveness of the fighting this whatever idea he has of people who call themselves flat earthers. Right now, I've never really heard of a definition of what that means. I don't particularly believe there are any actual flat earthers. They call themselves flat earthers, but they don't actually think the earth's flat, which is a contradiction in itself, I know, but they've took it upon themselves to have this model, or at least call themselves that. Right now, there are another group of people who also have a model, and they call themselves the opposite of flat earthers. So not flat earthers are globe earthers. And there's this battle going on between these two different models. Now, these two different models are not the only models. There are millions of different models. I mean, I don't know how many. And hopefully we'll try and show you that these models aren't good. And you're perhaps carrying around different sort of baggage with you, carrying these models that you have for yourself. And some of them might help you, some of them might hinder you. So that's where we're going from here on in. When you hear us talking about a model from here on inwards, it will not be a specific model. It will be a general model. Because as we know, everybody has these models. It's just certain people get more triggered about you pointing out their model, or well, that'll carry on. We'll go on with that. Right, so this model that we're talking about specifically today, and this model has been generated by the people who've supported Fight the Flat Earth. Now, he brought me in, or him and his team of trolls brought me into this arena. Now, I was already searching to try and find what was going wrong in society, why people were getting angry at people and calling people liars for having an opinion that it's a presumed opinion that brought me in. Brexit was my call. The big change that brought me in. Now, Fight the Flat Earth brought me into this particular arena because I was talking to Jesse Kozlowski and whatnot. But it's particularly what I want to talk about is the horribleness about, the attitude really that Fight the Flat Earth had when he was starting with his channel. Now, he started within a group of people, and that group of people that Fight the Flat Earth started with was Red's Rhetoric, Sean Huffraud, Sly Sparkane. Anybody help us out with any more? What was he called? Septic, Team Septic. So there was this band of people, all revolving really around, I think Red's Rhetoric, you could say, was the ringleader within this group of people. And Fight the Flat Earth elevated himself by being the character that he is now, right? Everybody knows who Fight the Flat Earth is, and you watch the video on Friday, hopefully, that seen him. Well, that sort of attitude that he had started way back, and the people that have praised Fight the Flat Earth have praised a lot of people within this sort of arena to develop this style that Fight the Flat Earth has generated into. So can we I've got a clip. I don't know whether you guys in the Discord, whether you'll be able to hear this, because I've got it. It's in the Agents Live, and I don't know. I don't want to get a double feedback through the Discord if I loop it through. So it's in the Agents Live chat, and it's a short clip I put in there. I think 11:15 today. Right, I'm gonna play it now. So if anybody in the Discord wants to hear that, I don't know how you guys can do it, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna play this now, right? Proves things to him, so he gets his proofs through maths. I get most of my proofs that I've gained since somebody called me nasty names for saying truths to my child. But right, so this is a clip from an actual video from Fight the Flat Earth, a public video, one of his earlier ones. It's titled "The Dumpster Fire Returns: FTFE versus Try Thinking." That's me. And this is what we're talking about now, right? So he's already called me names, but you're going to hear now exactly how Fight the Flat Earth was talking to people a bit ago. Now, when you're doing this, imagine that this person he's talking to is his next door neighbor, right? Or somebody across the street. Doesn't really matter. This Fight the Flat Earth, the one that's been actually convicted of assault, imagine this is somebody in your area, right? Now, listen to this. Ever since I got called that, I have gained
you haven't
geometry.
You haven't proved anything. You don't understand the calculation involved. And what you've done, you fucking piece of shit, is brainwashed your 13-year-old autistic child.
Pardon?
You've brainwashed your 13-year-old autistic child, and that is fucking detestable.
By telling him that level is a straight line on a horizontal plane.
You are telling him the Earth is not a globe.
Oh dear, Craig.
You are telling him the Earth is not a globe. You have brainwashed him.
When did I say that to him, Craig?
You are telling him that the Earth is flat. You can deny it all you like. You can deny it all you like, but you are teaching your child flat Earth shite.
Pardon?
And it is ruining his life.
I've just explained to you that the Earth is not flat, right? So don't tell me.
You are a flat earther. You are a flat earther, and you have taught your child that the Earth is flat. You can fucking argue it all you want, but that's what you've done. Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
And that is fucking detestable.
Don't put words into my mouth.
You can deny it all you like, but that is what you have done. You have taught your child that everyone in the world is fucking lying to them. That NASA is lying. You have taught your child that every fucking picture from space is a lie. You have taught your child. No, because you fucking detest. I am literally. I'm disgusted just being around you. You have taught your child. Around me, you have taught your child, your 13-year-old autistic child, that the Earth is flat. It is fucking disgusting. It is child abuse. You have psychologically abused your child. Fuck you.
Craig, do you know what the definition of child abuse is? Because you're going way over the top here.
No, psychological child abuse is exactly what you have done.
So is there such a thing as psychological child abuse?
Yes, absolutely there is.
Really?
It's called emotional abuse.
Emotional?
Do you want me to get the definition up for you?
So what would you class as emotional?
Would you like me to get the definition of psychological child abuse?
Yeah, if you want. But, I mean, do you think it'll say that teaching your child that the water level is horizontal?
But that is not all you are doing.
What do you mean? That's not all
you're doing.
I am doing.
You are teaching your child that the Earth is flat. You can deny it all you fucking want.
We are doing the... Okay, so basically you hear that, right? According to him, I'm teaching my son that the Earth's flat, which I've never told him that. Never said a word like that to my son. Right? I've never told him that the Earth is not a globe. I've never done that. Fight the Flat Earth has completely made all of this up. And there are a lot of people that also call me the same sort of thing, right? And it's all because these people want to push a model. They don't want to have a conversation about any proofs. Like I said, I just told him. I've just told him that the Earth is not flat. Yeah, he's telling me it doesn't really matter what I say and how much I deny it. I'm actually a flat earther, he says. Now, that's the guy that has been accused. Well, not even accused. He's been committed. He's been charged with assault and threatening behaviour. Would you call that threatening behaviour for him to accuse people of, well, he calls it psychological child abuse. But what is he calling psychological child abuse? I would say what he's doing is psychological child abuse, because my son has never been taught those things. Yet there are thousands of people that watch his videos that now imagine that I am this thing that he's told everybody I am. And if he can do that to somebody like me on the internet, and like, it won't just be me, there's many people that Fight the Flat Earthers lied about publicly. And now Fight the Flat Earth has been allowed, because all of the people that support him and carry on continuing to do the slander like he does, public slander, that's where all of this is generated. Right now, those people have generated the person that Fight the Flat Earth is now. Fight the Flat Earth is a character on the internet that started out by publicly slandering people. He got paid for it. They make lots of money for doing this sort of thing. calling people names and slandering them. And now he's actually committed assault, and he's making money from that too. This is the model that people have made, right? Fight the Flat Earth, the model of the character that's been made up. Well, that's completely fake, obviously. It's been made by a load of people feeding Fight the Flat Earth and allowing him to imagine that he's doing good. He's doing a good thing for the globe. And he's fighting for the globe by accusing people who obviously aren't flat earthers of being flat earthers. It's some sort of a win within an argument for him to then accuse that person that he's just told everybody is a flat earther and equate that to a child abuser. That's the model that's been made. Now, a lot of other people have gone along with it. I'm in the position now where I'm having to fight my way back because a lot of people have been told a lot of things about me. Now, I think I might go down in history as being the person that has said I'm not a flat earther the most. People still, I'm pretty sure they think it's a joke to say something that you're not, right? It's just like whenever you meet anybody, you just immediately start off with a lie and then think it's funny to carry on continuing that lie. Well, that's what we're here to do. We're here to expose these fake models, right? I guess you could say Fight the Flat Earth has made a model in his head of me and a lot of people. He calls them flat earthers. Now, this model of a flat earther that Fight the Flat Earth has, I know, is wrong because I'm not a flat earther. Yet, Fight the Flat Earth puts me in that category. So it can only be a false category as far as I'm concerned. So I can relate to Fight the Flat Earth's neighbour, real life neighbour. I can relate to that because I don't know whether Fight the Flat Earth was telling the truth. In fact, I'd put him in the category of the guy that probably isn't from Maine, i.e. a liar. So you can't really trust a word he says. There's a few inconsistencies within the thing. So I'm hoping, Fight the Flat Earth, if you're listening, let's have a chat. Let's go over how you brought us into the community and let's go over the proofs that we have. We'll go over the realizing Euclid tests and I'll go over the proof that it's not flat to show you that. Build you up step by step. Should be happy with it. Mathematical proof. Geometric proof. Now, this model, I don't know whether anybody watched it to the end last time on Friday. It was quite a long stream. Well, Ruhif was part of that. Ruhif ended up giving Fight the Flat Earth 200 Australian dollars for smacking his neighbour's head off the... Oh, right, yeah, that's where we go, right. Before we start with the Ruhif one. I've got these. We managed to get ourselves the... I know it's not very big for you guys. Come into the Discord if you want to see it. So this is the newspaper article, and I'll read it out for you. It says, Fife man battered neighbour in outrageously violent assault. Now, I think this got a headline. This was front page in, I don't know, a local newspaper. So it says, Fife-man battered neighbour in outrageously violent assault. Craig McNeil. Oh. Craig McNeil, Craig McNeil, 39, suspected the... Oh, I can't even read that. Let me... what I'll do is I'll read it out of the... I bet you guys can't even read it either, can you? I'll read it out so you can see it's there, though. Right. Craig McNeil, 39, suspected the man had stolen a bike. Suspected. Right, so this guy, Fight the Flat Earth, Craig McNeil, 39, suspected the man had stolen a bike and flew into a rage when he offered him a stand-up fight. An ex-Navy man slammed his neighbour's head on the ground in an outrageously violent assault after he failed to return his wife's bicycle. See, it doesn't say that he's stolen it, right? He suspected it was stolen, and then it says about them not returning the bike. Craig McNeil, 39, suspected the man had stolen the bike and flew into a rage when he offered him a stand-up fight. The assault happened outside McNeil's home in Oakley's Erskine Windland on August the 8th last year. Procurator Fiscal Depute Catherine Stevenson said McNeil punched his neighbour's face and was, quotes, slamming his head on the ground. So somebody's obviously said that, right? So somebody said that he's slamming the head on the ground before other residents intervened. Mrs. Stevenson said the accused got up and walked back to his home and shouted, "I'm going to kick your curve in every time I see you." The court heard that the victim sustained a cut to his nose. Says top headline. Told bike was as safe as houses. Defence lawyer Christopher Large told the court that McNeil's victim is understood to have struggled with addiction and had persistently asked McNeil for money for food and transport, with his client usually complying. Usually. He said he was always complying. On this occasion, the man had requested use of his wife's bicycle and McNeil agreed, with the proviso it would be returned as soon as possible. Mr. Large said the complainer took the bike and did not return it. The solicitor said the man initially assured McNeil the bike was as safe as houses with someone else, but later said he couldn't remember where he'd left it. McNeil suspected his neighbour had stolen it. McNeil suspected his neighbour had stolen it, right? And again, accused came out on top. On the day of the assault, Mr. Large said McNeil had been in his garden. And let me get these. On the day of the assault, Mr. Large said McNeil had been in his garden, and the man walked past and said, "What do you think you're doing reporting me to the police? Do you not know who I am, who my family are?" On an estate, right? On a council estate. Mr. Large said the man suggested a stand-up fight. The lawyer said his client had served in the Navy for a number of years and had his shoulder crushed by a piece of machinery, resulting in daily chronic pain. Remember that? His shoulder. Remember there was a lot mentioned about his knee? Well, that's not the Navy injury. It's the shoulder. You know, The one that he was picking the guy up with his hand, or maybe ragdolling him around and smacking him, right? So his arms seem to be a bit better. The lawyer said his client had served in the Navy for a number of years, but had his shoulder crushed by a piece of machinery, resulting in daily chronic pain. The lawyer said McNeil also suffers from a disorder which affects his ability to control anger. Well, I mean, you'd know that, right? So just be aware. Fight the Flat Earth, the guy that goes on the internet representing a group of people, accusing other people of being all sorts of, well, you know, child abusers and all sorts of other things, right? Detestable, vile, horrible, liars and all of that. That guy, that's the one that has a disorder which affects his ability to control his anger. So debating shouldn't really be this guy's main go-to, but there are a group of people that, well, Gadget, there is questions, right? He's in a wheelchair, or he's claimed to be in a wheelchair, so he's got a bad leg. And if he's got a bad leg, and his shoulder's the one from the military that got him out of the military, then where did his bad leg come from? People said he's a cripple. He's, you know, he's ill. He's got a bad leg. He wants to amputate his leg. So we don't know where the bad legs come from. Did he go in the Navy with the bad leg? You know, like after he had the brain aneurysm when he went into the Navy, like he said. Anyway, he suggested this combination of factors, the chronic pain and the inability to control his anger. He suggested the combination of factors led to McNeil reacting to the man, and with the benefit of his military training, he came out on top. Mr. Large said a background report describes McNeil as being remorseful and ashamed and accepting that temper got the better of him. I don't know, this background report must have been in between the thing, because he definitely, that one on Friday, I didn't see any of that, but who knows. Provocation. McNeil appeared in the dock for sentencing this week with a walking cane. At an earlier hearing, he pled guilty to assaulting his victim by repeatedly punching him on the head and body and repeatedly striking his head off the ground to his injury. Repeatedly striking the man's head on the ground. That seems like somebody who can't control their anger issues. Provocation. At an earlier hearing, he pled guilty to his... McNeil also admitted a charge of behaving in a threatening or abusive manner by making up repeated threats of violence. Fight the Flat Earth did say that he would have my children taken off me, or my child, because he didn't know that I had two sons. But yeah, he said that I could get my child taken off me for what he said, calling me a flat earther when I told him I'm not a flat earther. I've never been a flat earther. But this is the way these people go, right? Anybody can be a flat earther to this man. His uncontrollable anger issues will lead him to accuse you of being a flat earther if he wants to. If he gets angry, gets annoyed at you not agreeing with him, well, this is the way they are. Mr. Large highlighted that his client has had a previous conviction for road rage. Because whether you heard that in the video the other day, he said that he'd never been done for anything before. And he says he was done for a conviction for road rage, which involved him prodding the other driver with a walking cane. Sounds good, doesn't it? Prodding people with a walking cane. So he's got previous, right? Walking round, fucking getting into road rage. Road rage incident, poking somebody with a walking cane. Can you imagine it? Absolutely amazing. Sheriff Peter Anderson noted there was a degree of provocation and that the ungrateful neighbour failed to return the bike, but stressed it's not a justification for an outrageously violent assault. So there you go. Who, like, more censoring? Like, I don't know. It must be one to fight the flat earth ones. What have I argued? I've told people I have a proof for level being horizontal. What, like, why can't that fit on the globe? Like, it's in reality, and supposedly the globe is reality. So why is it arguing that it's not a globe for stating a proof in reality? That's really weird. More censoring. That's crazy. Is not reality a globe? More censoring. Because if you can prove that level is horizontal in reality, then that proves the globe, surely. It definitely proves it's not flat. So if you can have a proof it's not flat, then does that not prove the real globe? So thank you very much. Thanks for coming. What do you mean level isn't always horizontal on a globe? It is. Level in reality is always horizontal. And reality is a globe, isn't it? Like, why are you fighting for something that's not relatable to reality? I don't know what you're talking about. Level is horizontal. There's no point where level isn't horizontal, so that's ridiculous. Thank you very much anyway for coming. Now, as we know, it's definitely provable that level's horizontal. It's even in the dictionaries. Every dictionary states that level is horizontal. Every dictionary. There isn't any that don't say it's not. And what have we got here? We've got a few. Have we got the, where's the Rubik stuff? Oh, okay, the biodual and the straight lines and all of that. You're not really interested in that. Comes in as another argument. Okay, let me get this sorted out. Media player.
Hey, excuse me. Can I just say something real quick?
Of course you can. Of course.
I don't know. I don't know if I missed it or not, but to me, it sounds like our video that we watched on Friday doesn't comport with the news article.
Well,
They
was
seem to be
afterwards, wasn't it?
different stories,
Hmm.
like two different series of events.
I'm.
They don't seem to match up exactly.
Well,
Just in my opinion.
Yeah, the one that gets me is that when I've seen him, he's got a really bad leg. Right? Like, really bad. And his injury, supposedly, was for his shoulder in the military. So I wonder, when did the leg happen? When did he get a bad leg? Because surely
He had to be hobbling because he was always making sure he said I was hobbling.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a ramp and all sorts of stuff. And it's not for his shoulder, because you've seen him on camera. You've never seen him grimacing. He lifts his hands up, he does dancing, and he does all sorts of stuff. You know, his shoulder seems fine to me. I've never, you know, when you heard him talking, did anybody hear Fight the Flat Earth mention his shoulder being bad? Or did you imagine that his injury that he got in the Navy was something to do with his knee? What do you reckon about that? Has anybody ever heard of him? Or did you think he was injured with his leg when he was in the Navy?
Yeah, that would have been my takeaway, because I don't know too much about him. And whenever he talked about his injuries, he never said anything about his shoulder as far as I remember. But then again, I don't pay too much attention to Craig.
Well, he's it appears that he's said something in court about him being in the Navy. Now, I wouldn't know. I do know that once upon a time, Cheshire Vicky and Steve McRae put into question Fight the Flat Earth's qualifications. I don't know whether they, put into question about his Navy thing. But there are inconsistencies in stories. And when those inconsistencies come from a known liar, you have to sort of ask yourself a few questions, right? You wouldn't be doing yourself a service if you didn't ask these questions. He did have a brain injury, yeah. He said he had a brain injury just before he went into the Navy, which is also a little bit of a weird thing, because I can't imagine them allowing you in the Navy if you've just had a brain injury, a brain aneurysm or something. I don't know what it was. But I no doubt I could put these clips together. I could find them and make it into a nice little video. I don't know what the use of it would be, but other than to warn people about the type of people that you meet within this arena. The people that have developed themselves a model that ends up with somebody assaulting somebody, and obviously road rage, poking people with the walking sticks. I'm quite willing to have a word with Fight the Flat Earth, you know. I think we deserve to have a conversation between the two of us.
We already know how that'll go.
Right. So, can you guys see this? Because this is a video that I found today. I don't know whether we need well, yeah, I'll put the video. Let's have a look. Right, Emma, sorry about this, because this is an old video, and as you can see, there's only me and Emma and Ruhif in the chat. So Ruhif used to come round every morning, check us out, have conversations, and this is one of those conversations that I don't know why I happened to save it. We've got loads of these sort of things. Sometimes I recorded them, sometimes I didn't, sometimes I put them out. Most of the times I didn't. If they were particularly bad, or
are you apologizing? Are you apologizing because I talk on this?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to everyone in the YouTube chat. Sorry.
But this goes to show exactly what we're about, right? If people have been led to believe, if people keep coming into the chat saying that we're flat earthers and all of that, well, this is an honest conversation between me, Emma, and Ruhif. Okay? So, let's just listen to this. Let's listen to a natural conversation that happens. I think we're both playing games as well in the background.
I'm just interested. I'm interested because that's what keeps me here, is the people and why the people keep coming back. I love the whole psychology behind everything and the way people interact with each other. That's why I'm still here. I couldn't give a toss about the topic.
From a glober's perspective, and you guys will probably say the same thing, right? We know that we are right because we know why we are right. And
2 claims of no from Ruhith, right? And Emma said she doesn't give a shit about the topic. And Ruhith goes straight into globers. Emma's just told him she doesn't give a shit. Yet Ruhith can't get it off his head. He's a model afflicted in a serious way, Ruhith. So let's carry on, Ruhith.
And I'm sure and we it's like playing like a fucking kitten playing with a little toy, right? It's pushing you guys to have cognitive dissonance, which causes you pain.
Okay.
That's what there is at the moment. See, I'm sure you guys will say the opposite, right? Say the same thing from your perspective.
Yeah. So that's what keeps everybody here, is the fact of like mocking other people, really, essentially. It comes down to people want to feel like they're superior and they can mock other people for being less superior.
The mocking is only there because, again, from our perspective, flat earthers do not engage honestly.
I guess, though, that obviously you know as well, that's both sides say that about each other.
Yeah, I know. But that's the hard thing. Like when I say to you, I know my side is right, you go, no, but I know my side's right.
But I don't have a side. Honestly, I don't care what shape anything is. I don't care.
Yeah. Again, Emma's just told him again, had to remind him that we don't give a shit about what side anybody's on. Literally, we don't. And I know this because I've talked to Emma. We've been in this Discord server, or around about this Discord server, for over 4 or 5 years now. I know Emma doesn't give a shit about the topic or anybody like that. We're just watching the people. Watching the people with models and watch how they get affected by them. And Emma's telling him. I don't know how many times Emma's had to say this to people. How many times I've had to say, I'm not a flat earther. Some people just don't listen.
Yeah.
It's not going to make any difference to me, really, at the end of the day, what shape it is. And I'm probably never going to know fully, really. I don't expect to know everything.
Yeah. Like, I get you. Yeah. But it's, there's no parallel to it, is there? Because, like, the ultimate insult is to call someone a flat earther.
So the ultimate insult to Ruhith is to call someone a flat earther. So maybe that's what all of these guys are doing when they call me a flat earther. It's the ultimate insult. I'm not particularly insulted. It's just I'm not a flat earther. I don't think badly of flat earthers. If people want to call themselves a flat earther, I'll ask them, how do you deal with the contradiction? But people know that. It's
call
just
it a pizza.
Yeah. Anybody can do whatever they want. It doesn't make any difference. That's the point. That these guys, people like Ruhith, people like Fight the Flat Earth, these people are the ones that think it's an insult to call people something that they're not. Now, if that's not an aggressive behavior, then I don't know what is. He's trying to incite rage in people by giving people the ultimate insult. That's the tactics for these people. Now, this is Ruhith, and Ruhith is the man that gave Fight the Flat Earth 200 Australian dollars. He made Fight the Flat Earth cry. This Ruhith did. By giving him money, because Fight the Flat Earth had violently assaulted his next door neighbour. So Ruhith thought that was good. And by that, he gave Fight the Flat Earth money. Now, Ruhith knew that Fight the Flat Earth had already more than doubled the money that he had to pay for the fine. So this was just a cherry on the top, like a big wazzing cherry. Plonk there. For Ruhif to say, you know, there you go, look at me. So this is Ruhif, the guy that thinks it's an ultimate insult. Go again.
I know, but it's weird though how that's become, because there's so much worse that you could be called.
Oh yeah, sure. But in terms of, you know, non-criminal stuff, I guess. Oh, he's Bev. Bev's back.
Yeah, Bev's
Bit
back
of
and he
FE
just
drama.
dropped a truck on top of my truck.
What?
Lol. You
I'm sat
parked
in
the
a-
truck underneath the... Yeah, we were playing computer games at the
I
time.
just pulled the truck up and your truck just appeared on top of mine.
All right,
Oh dear.
watch this.
It's like we were talking about last night, like 24 hours ago. One of the things that keeps me coming back is trying to answer that question. Do they really not get it? And if they do get it, then why do they pretend not to get it? Like the Ligo thing from last night. Or,
Who
last
are you
few days.
talking about, Ruki? Who's
Well,
they?
you, obviously. You and
We're
Mikey
just
and
all-
whoever else.
Yeah, we're talking in general terms.
General, yes. Let's keep it general for now.
Okay, why don't we get what? What is it that you think we don't get?
If I drew an elevation profile for Ligo, right, assuming like, you know, a straight x-axis, obviously.
What do you mean?
If I draw
Assuming
that-
you're straight. You mean on a normal graph, right?
Yes, on a graph, right, on a straight x-axis. If I draw those elevations, they form a curve. But we know that Ligo is straight. So what does that say about the correspondence between the x-axis
But you've
and the surface of the
fucked up
Earth?
your x-axis.
What do you mean?
Somehow. You've not got your x-axis correct.
The x-axis is the distance and the y-axis is the elevation. Right? If we just graph those, it forms a curve.
Yeah.
But we know in
Ligo's
reality it's a straight line.
Yes, we know
Right.
Ligo's straight.
So what does that tell you about the correspondence between the x-axis and the shape of the surface?
Right now, Ruhif in his imagination here he's talking about an elevation profile just after calling everybody a flat earther. Right now, Ruhif's called us flat earthers, and what we're saying here is that Ligo, the straightest thing made ever, right? It had to be precise for the laser beam. The laser beam inside the tube is probably one of the most precise things that man's ever done. But I mean, who knows? Oh, who knows what they do? But he's saying, Ruhif saying, that the elevation profile for the arm of Ligo that is a straight line, Ruhif thinks it curves. Like the actual elevation profile for Ligo, the concrete pad, has a curvature to it. I just point that out, right? Before this goes on. Because, I mean, this is an ongoing thing, but this is particularly what Ruhif's talking about right here. He's confused about it. It means you fucked up your x-axis, like, because Ligo is straight, so...
So Emma, this is what I'm talking about.
something wrong if you're not drawing a straight line on your elevation profile.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying to Emma.
Yeah, but to me it seems like you can't agree on simple terms. Like back to the basics is where you guys struggle. You need to make it complicated for some reason.
Let's say that all points of equal elevation form a straight line. Let's assume that, right? Which is what I call a flat Earth, right? If
So Ruhif, like on every elevation profile you've ever seen, all of the points of an equal elevation lie on a straight line, like every elevation profile ever, that's what Ruhif calls a flat Earth. Okay, so Ruhif calls every elevation profile ever drawn by every architect and all of that, he calls that flat Earth, right? So that's Ruhif's starting point for this.
If I were to then graph the elevations of that LIGO tube, assuming that the surface is flat, like I said, what shape should that graph be?
What are you trying to do, Ruhif?
We're drawing a graph, are we? I used to
We're
do
drawing
that.
a graph, yeah.
That was one of my favourite things, was doing the graphs.
Yeah. If I do that, if I draw a graph, and
But
I
why
assume...
are you drawing a graph?
Yeah, what's it a graph
That's
of?
what we did.
What's
Yeah,
the
the
purpose of the
elevations.
graph?
The elevation.
We've got Blue Marble says that the elevation profiles for LIGO are clearly curved. It's a straight line, right? Ruhif and Blue Marble think that a straight line, when plotted on an elevation profile, in reality, is curved. I mean, that's backwards, but I mean, okay, Blue. Do whatever you want, but Blue's coming in to stick up for Ruhif here. They stick together, these guys.
They don't test whether you understand what you're doing to begin with, so that the elevations of the LIGO tube, if I were to graph that, assuming that the points of equal elevation form a straight line, so that's
Do you need a
flat Earth.
graph, or could you not just look at the numbers?
Well, this is the challenge, right?
What challenge for
If
who?
the-
Challenge for the people making the thing, or
No, for you, Bev, for you.
for me?
Oh,
we
it's for
assume a flat
Bev
Earth.
Just for
personally.
me.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just a thought experiment, right? If we assume that points of equal elevation form a straight line,
Which they
right,
do.
and LIGO, in your world, yes,
What do
and
you mean?
LIGO
In
is
my
a straight
world,
line.
They do.
Well, they don't,
No,
but anyway, let's assume they do, right?
They do.
And we were to graph the elevations of the LIGO tube. What would that graph look like?
Great.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
no
Right.
way.
Yeah.
So what does the graph
straight
actually
graph.
look like?
What does
the graph
look
actually
like?
look like?
The one that you drew, the one with the bendy line.
Yeah,
It
the
looks
one
like
with
a
the
fucking
actual elevations.
Fucking stupid, doesn't it? Doesn't
I
look
think
like
one
an
with the
elevation
actual
profile
elevations.
of a straight line, does it, Ruby?
That's because the x-axis doesn't correspond to the surface.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, you fucked up your x-axis. You have, mentally.
What's the X then?
Okay?
What is X then?
The x-axis, right? If you
What is it then? If it's not that.
the x-axis is just a straight line. It's like a Cartesian plane, right?
Yeah.
But if the Earth is flat, then that would correspond to points of equal elevation having the same.
Can you not just stick
straight
to
line.
the straight? Why do you have to add in the Earth?
If the Earth's flat, it's obviously not flat.
Obviously
Obviously not.
Points of
I heard
equal
you say
elevation form
earlier,
a straight line.
Emma was saying about the two different sides of this argument.
Yeah.
Like you're on one side, we aren't on the other, Rudif. I'm with Emma.
Do points-
I couldn't give a
do
shit
points-
about you fucking
Do points,
I don't
points
care
of equal
about
elevation
it. I know it
form a
might
plane?
upset you. See, there you go. Me again. I don't give a shit about Earth. Don't care. I know there are a lot of people in this arena that feel very fucking strongly about shapes of things, and I'm not. I'm only concerned about the actual geometry and trying to stick to as proof ridden as we can. Just sticking with reality as closely as we can. I know there isn't two different realities. There's only one reality. So let's concern ourselves with that. That's it. That's the truth of the matter. I know a lot of people have called me all sorts of things. Number one, not a flat earther. I'm just a person who lives in reality with proofs that I've found. and that's okay. We're going to show people these proofs. But in order for us to show these proofs, we have to make it obviously clear why there are people that will deny these proofs. Blue Marble's in the chat again. Welcome, Blue. Thank you very much for being here. Take note of what Ruhif's saying here, though, because this is going to be one of your big points. I've got quite a few. We've got Ligo, we've got the bridge, we've got the tangent, the twin tangent points, we've got Jesse Kozlowski, and we've got the zenith angle things. All of these are geometric solutions to these things, right? But you have to have an understanding of how geometry works. And that's what we're going to do. I'll put them into shorter videos, but this is the idea of going over what Epoche is and why Epoche seems to be one of the best. And Emma's already said that, you know, like, it doesn't give a shit, and I don't think it'll make any difference anyway. What's the point in it is the thing, right? What's the sufficient cause? There has to be something that makes you want to do this. I can't see why people want to separate reality into two different groups and then fight about that, completely forgetting about actual reality. Here we go anyway. But yeah, I don't give a shit.
Okay, but do points of equal elevation form a flat plane? Yes or no?
They form a straight line, the x-axis, a horizontal plane, Ruhif.
You are a flat earther. Well done. All right, we got there.
Okay, so there we go. Points of equal elevation form a straight line. As in, like, on every elevation profile you've ever seen. Every one of them. Straight line. Okay. That's flat earth to root. Fucking hell, Michael.
Yeah, I don't...
Oh my God, everyone's going to be a flat earther.
Yeah.
I don't think that points of elevation, equal elevation, form a straight line.
So Ruhif doesn't think points of an equal elevation form a straight line. So Ruhif thinks that every elevation profile you've ever seen is wrong. It's not correct. Ruhif's going against the narrative of elevation profiles that everybody knows about in reality. That can't be true to Ruhif. You don't think points of elevation form a straight line?
Points of equal elevation. They do not form a straight line.
Why?
Because we live on a globe.
There you go. Because we live on a globe. Not like, well, we do have points of equal elevation forming a plane, and that is what we use to prove our globe. No, Ruhif goes the other way. He doesn't say that. Ruhif says all of those elevation profiles you've ever seen, they're wrong. They can't be occurring on his globe, right? He's got a dogmatic idea of a globe, but that's up to Ruhif. But Ruhif says he goes the opposite way. Can't be. Any other reason?
That's it.
And that's the only reason Ruhif has got for going against every elevation profile that's ever been drawn, is because he lives on a globe. That's it. That's all he's got. Okay. And how do you know that? Is that because the Ligo?
Well, Ligo's one.
Yeah.
Ligo's one, yeah.
Because of the elevation profiles of Ligo.
That's a good one, yeah.
Okay, so there you go. That's how Ruhif knows, because he's seen an elevation profile of Ligo. And Ligo, as everybody knows, is a straight line. And for some reason, some people have drawn it as a curved line. I don't know why. It's a horizontal line, but they've drawn it as a curved line. Blue Marble's done one as well. It's a fantastic one. I think that may be where Ruhif's got this one. He might have been working with Blue Marble So thanks, Blue Marble, for this one. Like, you've set Ruhif up brilliantly for this. Blue Marble is the only one of the only people that have ever drawn an elevation profile of a straight line that's actually curved for some reason. Thank you very much, Blue Marble Science. Well, I guess we'll have to put this into a video when we go over this particular straight line, bent line, unclamped line, whatever it is. But we're going to get into it now. One of Ruhif's misconceptions around this Ligo thing, because it's not just Blue Marble and his curved elevations that Ruhif's dealing with. We're going to go into this one now.
Okay. Hello, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm good,
I do have a top three though. Like my,
Not
I don't
bad.
narrowed it down to the
Not
top.
Is that
Up
in the
early
top
morning,
three?
or up late rather?
No, but it's a good one. It's a good one.
So they got
Top three
better
would
ones
be-
than that.
Oh, just the one that I like.
Holy shit! Where?
But number one would be celestial navigation. Number two would be my measurement of
Ruhif,
angles with
Ruhif.
So,
theodolite.
did you have
Hello.
a busy,
I don't
shift?
give a
you
shit
just
about
started?
your Earth.
Oh, off track.
Okay, and number three would be things like San Jacinto and
There you
Canigou,
go.
with like 2 kilometers of a
It's
mountain
busy, call off the call.
below the horizon.
Oh, so long
That's
shift.
my top three.
Obsessed.
Number four would be ISS.
You should have seen me
And
how
probably
I
number five would
maneuvered
be,
the
Ligo.
helicopter around the building.
Number
was
number
crazy.
5.
I think
I
someone
guess
just
he
crashed
doesn't
into
trust you
that.
that much, Blue.
You fuck. If you scratch the heli,
As I said, we were playing games in the background while we were talking to Ruhif. If you can hear sirens.
Does
Sounds
Stark
like
Order
you
come
got
into
three
chat at
stars.
all? Like into VC?
Nah.
What
Never.
about him?
Don't know who he is, do you?
No.
professional pilot.
He's never. So we're talking about Stark Order. And Ruhif asked, does Stark Order ever come into chat? It's like, no. Stark Order's never coming into chat. He knows it, and nobody knows who Stark Order is, but they're all like this group of people who claim not to know anybody really, but they all work together. Like Ruhif has got Blue Marble's curved elevation profile of a straight line, a horizontal line, curving. And Epi Dogma and Dark Order. You know these people whenever you start having conversations in any one of the chat rooms. These people will be there to comment on things that you say. Oh, well, for me anyway, I'll show you when I go out and start talking to people.
Come and talk. He just sits in the chat talking, doing that all the time. He talks to Wally quite often.
John, you better not scratch my heli.
I do know Wally,
Okay.
obviously.
Wally doesn't come in chat much.
Okay.
No, he's busy.
No, I mean he's like Stark Order in a text.
A chat skank. Oh, fuck. I got a DM from Epi Dogma. Sorry. Fuck, I heard that this morning. I haven't checked it out again.
Maybe when he was posting that comment to me on the video, he might have listened
Sorry,
to us
dumb
go
friend,
over it
crashing through
on
the heli.
Friday.
He did. He said,
What
hello.
is
At first, I watched a bit of your exchange with Bev, and thanks for standing up for common sense. Like Blue, your patience with
Oh,
dealing
well.
with Bev is
John, come
amazing.
back here.
As for me, I'm sound asleep when all of this happens. And then blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. But he sent me a thing. I put it in the live chat.
That's for crashing my helicopter.
He's
Yeah.
actually he is saying there is a tangent point at A and a tangent point at B.
I can pick you up.
Yeah, for 2 different curves, right?
Well, it's just for the line AB. There is a tangent point
Better.
at each. I mean,
No, for the line AB, or for the surface under AB.
can you hear what he says? Read the
what's
first
that
fucking line, Ruby.
Right. Yep. Yes, there is a tangent point at A and B.
There you go.
Right, so we're talking about a line at Ligo, one of the arms of Ligo, with two ends of this one line. One point called A and the other point called B. Now, as you've just heard them say, there is a tangent point at A and a tangent point at B. That's the statement. The statement was, you do realise you've got a tangent point at A and a tangent point at B, right? That was all I ever said to these people. And they're agreeing with me. So they agree that there is a tangent point at A and a tangent point at B. But listen to what has to happen, right? There's something wrong here because a model is making these people say strange things. They've just admitted that there is a tangent point at A and a tangent point at B. So,
Right,
that's all we were saying, Rupert. That's all we were saying.
No, you said there's two tangent points for the line AB. There is not.
There's a tangent point at A and a tangent point at B. Obviously.
Right, the tangent point at A is for the curve or the surface under AB. The tangent point at B is for the surface under BC.
You can put it wherever you want, Rupert.
This gets back to what me and Emma were talking about. I don't understand. Like, I know you understand what I'm saying, but then I don't understand why you pretend not to understand.
I don't know what you're trying to say I'm understanding, Ruhif. The point was, like I said, right at the fucking beginning, he has drawn a tangent point at A and a tangent point at B. Right, now he's admitted it.
Curves.
You've admitted it. Everybody knows it. They can see it. It's in his video. He's put a tangent point at A and B. Full stop.
Two different curves.
It, Ruhif. That's all that was said. Now, you can decide to do whatever you want with that fact. But they are definitely facts now.
Right.
Tangent point at A and a tangent point at B.
Right.
Okay.
And?
No, so that's it, Ruhif. That is it.
Excellent. So there's no point you want to make. You're not gonna say that they're different. They're two different curves.
It's two tangent points. One at A, one at B.
Right, for two curves. Right? Do you agree that?
Right. So everybody's agreed now that there definitely is a tangent point at A and a tangent point at B. That is a straight line with two tangent points. That doesn't need any more statements to be made. Other than maybe...
pure nonsense. Geometrical nonsense.
Yeah, other than some sort of knowledge within geometry to understand what the statement actually means, but I don't think that's actually necessary. All you need to know is that they've agreed that they have got a straight line with two tangent points on it. I mean, it's literally an impossibility in reality, but hey, this is new maths. These people have a model, a dogmatic model, where they just say, no, it can't be that. My model says it can't be that. Well, we're just talking about geometry, Blue. Sorry, but yeah, you can't deny actual geometry. I know what you want to happen, but you put the model in the wrong place. You put the model after the proof of reality, right? Surely. You just say 'tis globe, it proves the real globe. The proofs in reality for geometry prove reality. Everybody knows geometry is inherent in nature. Simple as that. Like I said in the reply to him, it's impossible unless you have two different circles.
Two different curves, yeah, sure.
Two different circles.
You don't have to have a circle.
Tangent point. You don't have to have a circle.
No, the curve. You can have a tangent to a curve.
Yeah. Where'd you get your curve from?
It's the surface underneath AB and BC.
The surface of what?
The Earth.
The soil, the dirt.
Well, the elevations of it, yeah. The equal elevations form a curve.
Why are you putting them as tangents? Sounds fucking ridiculous, but...
Because there is a point on that curve at which it's horizontal. And it's horizontal for the surface under AB. It's horizontal at point A. And I think for the surface under BC, it's horizontal at point B, right?
Okay, so Ruhif has just explained that we've got a straight line that goes from A to B. And he says it's horizontal at point A. And it's also horizontal at point B. And it's a straight line that's horizontal at both ends of it. Right now, would you imagine that the entire line might be horizontal, having two horizontal points, one at each end? Like if you were a school child or, you know, like just normal understanding, a straight line from A to B, and point A is horizontal and point B is horizontal. The extreme points. The two extreme points of this straight line are horizontal. What would you imagine would happen to the straight line? Horizontal is a straight line, just to point out as well. Well, let's hear what Ruhif says about it.
So check the diagram again.
Horizontal
Sure
at A and horizontal at B.
Yes.
Nice.
But two different curves.
That line AB has a horizontal point at A and a horizontal point at B. Wow.
The point A, right?
What about in
so
the middle?
If you were to draw a vertical.
Is it horizontal in the middle as well?
No.
No. Right. It says no.
Yeah.
Like,
strangely.
That's
strangely.
why. Why is it not horizontal in the middle? Like, why could it not possibly be horizontal in the middle? Surely you could have a tangent point there if you wanted to anyway, couldn't you? If you're putting a tangent point at any point and calling that horizontal, why can't you have a horizontal point in the middle and also call that horizontal? What's up with that? Does that not logically follow that if you're just calling every point horizontal, then why can't you have a point in the middle that's also horizontal? Even in new maths, right?
Yes, if these points are extremities, so point A is horizontal, let's say, whatever it means, and point B is horizontal, it means that every point between them has to be horizontal also.
It means every point everywhere is going to be horizontal. It doesn't, literally, you've thrown out the rules of geometry, but you've literally made every point horizontal within Ruhif's new maths and Blue Marble's new maths as well, right? But for some reason, yeah, Blue, like we do know that the arms are perpendicular because that's what we understand. Perpendicular to straight lines at 90 degrees to each other. That's the entire meaning of perpendicular. But we'll get there. But Ruhif's got rid of that, right? Ruhif's just got perpendicular points, which is every point everywhere. So it's a straight line that's only horizontal at each end.
It is only perpendicular to gravity at point A.
And B.
Well, for the other curve, yes.
The straight line.
BC, yes. Well, BC is not. BC is the tangent, right? That's the Ligo. So it's the surface curve under BC.
So he's got a perpendicular at B and a perpendicular at A, and they're both perpendicular, right? Where the horizontal is. So the perpendiculars at A and B make it a straight line in between, doesn't it? I mean, I know that's old school geometry, but that would make the line from A to B a horizontal line in old traditional mathematics. But it's not apparently in Ruhif's, but the points at A and B are still horizontal points. Just the line isn't a horizontal line for some reason.
And he's talking about two different curves. But if we have, and he said that the Earth is curving. So that would be only one curve. It cannot be two different curves. So it's just nonsense.
Different circles? Where have you got your circle? Where's your different circles, Blue? Like, what? Blue Marble's talking to say, sorry, Blue Marble's in the chat talking about, he says, great, Bev. Then you see there are two lines that each contain a point of tangency to different circles.
So Earth are two different circles.
He's just put a different, yeah, well, that's what Ruhif said, right? Related to the Earth, underneath them, there's a different circle somehow.
It's actually infinity number of circles.
Well, that's what I was saying, yeah, because if you've got one at each end, you can have one all the way along the line, right? Anywhere. So you could literally have a horizontal point everywhere.
Yes.
But Ruhif said not that.
Right, and it doesn't stop at the boundary either. It potentially goes above the boundary or the superficies of the sphere. So you get it, right? It's infinite circles.
Infinite circles.
From the center out to infinity. Yes.
But that is, like if we're talking about logic, then logic gives you your understanding of geometry. And you're thinking of circles as in circles within Euclidean geometry, within that form of logic, right? Well, Blue and Ruhif obviously have lost all of that. This is new maths, new logic, which we may not be able to comprehend because it's fantastic. It's in another realm. And I don't think they can explain it either. Because it definitely doesn't comport with any logic or geometry that I know about, right? It seems impossible to me. But if there's anybody that can do it, it'll be Ruhif and Blue Marble Science. Blue Marble says it's two different elevations, this horizontal line. Or this line with two horizontal points at each end. Hence two different concentric curves. Oh, right. Concentric. Not just two random circles. These are concentric circles now. It's a bit more specific.
At every potential elevation. And that would be down to what gradient? Every meter, every foot, every centimeter, every nanometer?
Nano, yeah.
How many concentric
zero,
circles do we have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
it should be easy to figure out.
It has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. Because if these circles are above surface of the Earth, we are not talking about shape of the Earth.
Air circles. Yeah. Yeah, that's how
elevation circle.
Yeah, elevation circles, yeah.
Yes, because it is above surface. So okay, you can draw any circle above the Earth, and you can call it circle, but whatever you want, but still it has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
Right, well, Blue, can I just get a confirmation these elevation circles are all the points on the circumference of the elevation circles? Are they also horizontal points, like for your A and B? So could we call that a horizontal elevation circle? But then, like, remind people that it's like a vertical horizontal elevation circle, because you don't want to get people thinking that it's just a circle, you know, like those parallel ones that they have, the latitude circles. You don't want people thinking that it's like a horizontal latitude circle, do you? You'd much rather let people know that it's a vertical horizontal point elevation circle. That makes sense? Is everybody with me? Just trying to understand this dogmatic model that the blue marble scientists are coming with. Remind you, everybody, I'm not a flat earther. Everybody can join along with this. It's like those guys that were going over all of the NASA papers that got upset. We're just going over the geometric claims of the dogmatic guys here, Blue Marble Science and Ruhif.
But Ruhif said that this curve is surface of the Earth, so it cannot be on different elevations.
The air curve.
So if level is or whatever is equal elevation, so we are talking about one Earth curve and one elevation. So still it is impossible to have two tangent points on straight line. Because equal elevation means that this is only one elevation.
You know what I heard, and I've got it. There's only 22 seconds. Let me get this over, and then I think we might be able to help you out in the other one, right? It gets fun. It's weird Logos gives us all of this sort of stuff. Yeah, of course I do. I know Blue Marble's having he wants to have a geometry off with us. Well, I'll bring Euclidean geometry and show you a proof that it's not flat blue. And what you can do is you can bring your, other geometry, right? Because I will go into it in a bit. Let's finish this. And that's good. It's about to go out.
Yeah. All right. I'll go and start getting dinner ready for the children. Anyway, Emma, this is what I'm talking about. So, anyway, I'll be back later. Yeah.
Okay. So that's Ruhif. He's he's helped us out there because he's brought us back into Ligo, and we love Ligo, especially when you can compare it to the hump. It's like the hump and the drop because, well, imagined. It shows people how you can imagine the globe Earth two different ways, and that's the problem, right? You've got the hump, and then with this one you've got an imagined tangent, but the imagined tangent has two tangent points on it, which makes an infinite amount of tangent points, and that means you've lost your logical system, the logical system that formulates the geometry, that formulates the Euclidean geometry, the axiomatic system, perfect axiomatic system, has to be denied. Right, let me get back onto this. So in the, I'll pull these over. So I'm talking with BioDual. Copy now. This is, I think BioDual came over to have a help with these other mates. So you guys in the live chat here, we'll do these one by one. Move that over. Okie dokie. So this one says, I'm talking to BioDual. Let me just check that. I might have got these out of order. I perhaps didn't get these out of order. I might have just missed some, but okay. So we're talking here, and I say you have a bigger problem though. And he says, yeah, I don't. He says, your redefinition does nothing for my position. Because they like to play definition games, and then they like to say that I'm redefining it. And you'll find out what he thinks
Or you're playing semantics.
Well, yeah, but this is a claimed redefinition for me. You'll come and see it in a minute. He says, I could redefine what straight is on a plane and claim you have a problem. You see where we're going? But that would be my problem because I'm redefining things. And I said, I'm not the one redefining straight. And he says, you are. Unless you concede, you're completely ignoring spherical geometry. One, you are ignoring spherical geometry. Number two, you're redefining straight line in spherical geometry. There is no third position here.
There are no straight lines in spherical geometry.
It's a circle, right?
Right.
But that's what he's saying. That's me redefining straight in spherical geometry, because I have an understanding of straight in Euclidean geometry. It's like it's a really nice sort of mind switch that he's done to himself.
Do they have a definition of a straight line in spherical geometry's definition?
No, Rob. What he's saying is that the moment you question straight in spherical geometry, he can claim you are redefining straight. It's a semantics, but it's a reverse semantics. It's a backwards mind, of which there is no arguing with people like this, really.
Where are the definitions and axioms in spherical geometry? We know there are none.
That was my question.
Yes, there are none. Exactly right. But you see the wizardry that he's trying to pull here on Bev, right? There's only one place where a straight line is defined. It's Euclidean geometry. But somehow he's turning it around to claim that Bev is redefining the straight line in spherical geometry. Not that.
Hang on, you're really not trying to claim wizardry on the part of Blue Marble, are you?
No, this is biodual. No,
biodual.
Just pointing out. Yeah, I'm just pointing out how the people that you have to deal with within this chat, these model afflicted people, will obfuscate an argument. It's like a sophistry, but it's one of the worst forms of sophistry, in my opinion.
Yes, he's implying that you are using spherical geometry.
Well, I'm redefining straight around spherical geometry because I have So let's go into it, right? Because I think it gets
in
worse.
Spherical geometry that you are redefining straight line in spherical geometry.
Yeah.
So it means that you are using spherical geometry, and you are not. So that would be just a lie, not by omission, but by addition, because he's using spherical geometry and you are not.
You can see the narrative that's being pushed because Wally's coming in with it in the YouTube chat. Like I've only got one understanding of straight, Wally, so I'm not redefining straight in anything because there is only straight. It's a natural thing inherent to our understanding of geometry. So if you have something different than that, then that's on you, Wally, and that's on these guys, right? So I say the diameter is a straight, isn't it? And Biodeal says correct, but not the surface. Mr. Every part of the sphere. And I say, correct. The surface isn't straight. And then Bayudul says, is it Euclidean? And I say, the sphere is, yes. And Bayudul says, the surface, Bev. That's the part I'm asking about. And I say, the surface of the sphere is part of the sphere. Yes. And Bayudul says, it's fantastic how wrong you are that you can't even answer a simple question. FE liability. And he says, and your source makes no mention of the surface, right? It's talking about the Euclidean geometry definition of a sphere that I give him. I just posted it a little bit earlier. You can just see it at the top of the screen there. I say the surface of the sphere is not straight. And Bayudul says, it for sure says nothing to what is and what isn't Euclidean. To be super clear about that. I'm fine with those 4 things being part of Euclidean though. But again, nothing about the surface. And nothing about the entire sphere. No.
So no argument. And you answered his question because he accused you that you didn't answer his question. You did.
And I say, you generate a contradiction in your reasoning. And Bayudul says, I don't. And I say, yes, you do. He says, I've been very clear and purposeful with my language. By all means, point out the contradiction. Like I said before, I'm not coy, Bev. In before mystery, detective statement and meme pictures. Then I say, you have a different straight to generate the shape than on the surface of the same shape. And Bayudul says, damn. A different straight? Question mark. What? My straight lines aren't generating a shape. Your axiom within Euclidean can produce a sphere. That's fine. But the surface of said sphere isn't Euclidean. And that's fine too. Earth can be flat, Bev, and all these statements are still true. But misrepresenting things makes you an FE liability. So, right, just get this. It says, according to Bayudul, your axiom within Euclidean can produce a sphere. That's fine. But the surface of said sphere isn't Euclidean.
Yes, it is.
Anyone ever heard of that before?
I don't know, but still in Euclid, this is how Euclid described producing of the sphere. So revolving a semicircle around diameter. So this shape is Euclidean.
Yeah.
Because he is producing, he's showing how to produce a sphere. So that's it. So it is Euclidean.
He said Bayudul doesn't think it is. It's not. The surface of a sphere is not Euclidean.
Wrong.
Well, I mean, these are the things that we've got to. Obviously, we've got to do short videos just to explain people what a sphere is and how the surface of a sphere actually belongs. It's part of the sphere. You can't have a sphere without a surface. That doesn't really make any sense. How do you remove the surface from Euclidean geometry from the sphere?
You cannot, because if you remove surface, you have still remaining surface. Let's say lesser surface. So you are going into infinite regression. It doesn't make any sense, but you still have some surface. If you remove, you are just slicing or whatever, you are just diminishing radius of the sphere, point by point. So you have smaller and smaller surface, but still you have surface.
Right, well, this one, I was actually talking to this Helmedden quite a bit. He got a fair bit of help when I think he just fell into a, well, once he started doing this anyway. So he says, I claim to have a proof that the earth is not flat, because he said I don't make any claims. So I said, I'll make claims, stuff that I know. So I started claiming stuff, and he says, I don't think anyone is disputing those claims, so cheers. So accepted that I have a proof that the earth is not flat, right? And nobody's disputing the claims that Try Thinking, Bev, me, has a proof that the earth is not flat. That's an actual proof. Nobody's disputing that. I say a circle is 2D and a sphere is 3D. And also a bit earlier on, I said, do you see a problem with deductive proofs to Helmedden? And Helmedden says, I had to underline this. He says, I have a problem with deductive reasoning in science. But you said proof, didn't you? Which isn't scientific. So again, cheers. So there's another statement, right? The surface of a sphere not being Euclidean. And have you ever heard this one before? Proof isn't scientific. Did you know that?
So he's saying that deductive thinking is not proving.
It's not scientific. So, well, no.
Yes.
Deductive reasoning is giving you proof, right? But yeah, proof isn't scientific. So you've got to keep that separate from science now, right? You can't, get Bacon told us, didn't he? Get it out.
Yes, of course, yes. Yeah. But still, this is whole wrong, because, of course, science is knowledge, and you gain knowledge when you can produce proof. It means syllogism. And especially when you are asking for a cause. So if you have answer why for question why, you have answer for question why, it means that you have knowledge. It means that you have science. Simple Aristotelian definitions.
But that's old, right? That's not new logic or new science, right? That's the old stuff. You may have a model of this old Aristotelian science, right? But that's different. It's a different model that other people have. That's why we're going over these models.
Yes, but this old model gives you a certain knowledge.
Yeah.
New model gives you only probable, let's say, evidence.
Yeah, averages, statistics.
Yes, something like that.
Means.
Not certain knowledge.
Right, well, here may be something else. These are what going out and talking to people, which I'm going to be doing quite a lot more. I really enjoy it. I've been sort of kept myself out of the way because I noticed what happened and what occurred whenever I did start talking to people a lot too much. So we've kept ourselves out of the way for long enough now that I can go and start having conversations. So here's another one. I say, the elements is the foundation of mathematics. And Epoche says, correct, but Euclidean geometry is only part of the elements. And I say primes and number theory too. He says also correct. But again, not all geometry in the elements is Euclidean. I'll say that again. He says also correct because it does primes and number theory, right? Also correct, but again, not all geometry in the elements is Euclidean. It's fascinating.
So Euclid wrote not Euclidean geometry.
Some of it, yeah, like a bit. I don't know where it is. I've yet to find it. So, so I say it's all Euclidean within the elements, and he says, "One moment. Oh wait, it's the study of plane and solid figures. My bad." Say, it's called Euclid's Elements. It's all Euclidean. He's called the king of infinite space, but it's really a logic book, pure logic. And then he says, sphere does not equal spherical geometry. Sphere equals Euclidean geometry. I say perfect, some might say, but it uses deductive logic, which some say isn't scientific for some reason. Because it does, that's right, isn't it? Euclidean geometry uses deductive logic, deductive reasoning entirely, because you end up with definite proofs. And that, like that other guy said, that's not scientific, so we can't have that. We can, there's no use for Euclidean geometry because it's not scientific anymore.
Yeah, so this Francis Bacon said that this is he was just opposing this syllogism, boring old syllogism. So he wanted something new. So yes, according to Francis Bacon, it is boring and no longer science for him.
Yeah. So Exipinos says, it's not scientific. It's mathematical.
Mathematics is science. Sorry.
But not new science, right? Because it's got deductive logic, which can give you actual proofs, which they can't have in new mathematics and new science. Again, I'm not too sure how many people are aware of this, and perhaps that's my mission to, let people know. It can be a voice for the globe, for the real globe, obviously, because this has to happen, I think. It should be techable anyway. And I say, are you sure you should be speaking about this? Because anybody that, says about Euclid writing some non-Euclid stuff and then saying that it's not actually scientific, when logic is the science of reasoning. So you could say that logic within itself is a science of reasoning, and that's how we can understand things. But
according to Francis Bacon, no.
Oh, no. Terrible, isn't it?
Logic about logic is not a science.
That's why we're in this mess nowadays. There are people like Wally, Blue Marble Science, Ruhif, and these people that you talk to in chat rooms, and we're just talking about simple geometric reasoning, and these people are having to deny this sort of stuff. So here's the replacement model. The replacement model for all of this is Epoche. Right? You can know what you can know, but then anything beyond that, I just put down to
I'd let these people go. You know, there's not much way that you can help them, and I don't think you can actually converse with anybody within, you know, in these chats. I can, because I think it's quite fun. But if you do want to come and try these conversations with people, please pop in here, and I'll run you through how the conversations go. We've got some good ones with north, south, east, and west, and perpendicular. These arguments can be discussed at length with anyone. There's a few self-contradictions that you may find that you have when we do this, right? So, and I've seen this one's going round. If anybody's seen this, is there anybody here to have a go with that? Right, can you guys in YouTube see that? Can you see the picture? Maybe a little bit fuzzy, but can we go over what we can see in the picture and see whether anybody can spot this? Right, number one, at first glance, does it look right? Is there... Might have to wait for a bit for the YouTube people to catch up. Can anybody see what's occurring in the picture? And let's say spot the inconsistencies. It's a picture with a pier, wooden pier, on a lake. Yeah, it's got to be on a lake, hasn't it? A high up lake, a tarn, up a mountain somewhere, and somebody's obviously put some
sitting
seagulls.
ducks.
Yeah,
seagulls.
Yeah.
Seagull. Okay.
Seagulls on the thing now. Without sort of, well, I reckon you guys might not see this. But what is wrong with what's going on in this picture? I mean, like, let's take the words, right, that are said, right, because you're going to be influenced by them. Everyone would always be influenced by these. It says, perspective according to flat earthers. Not leading at all, right, because who knows what people see. It says, if this image looks normal to you, congratulations. Now you understand how the sun sets in flat earth perspective. Right, so anyone here, can anybody say that that looks normal to them?
These seagulls are, which are sitting, let's say, on the horizon and going over horizon, which is not a horizon, but still they are too big, of course. So
yeah, Black Fact says that one of the birds in the distance is bigger than the first bird closer. So they're getting bigger as they're getting further away. Quite a few people have noticed that. So that, I mean, is that normal to anybody listening? I mean, not to me,
of course, but still, I'm not sure why he's talking about this perspective according to flat earthers. I don't know why that would be the claim.
Right, but
the
big mistake, right, is the one that most people don't notice, right? I've seen Ranty do this. I've seen Witsit do this. I've seen Jesse Kozlowski do this. I've seen Blue Marble do this. I've seen Where's Wally do this as well. And I don't know whether people can see it. I have a specific term for this, and once I say it, you'll go, oh yeah, and you'll hear it, and you'll say it a lot yourself every time you see it.
At that distance, when if it is horizon, the seagulls would be not visible at all.
Okay, so which horizon are you talking about? What is a
I am
horizon?
talking. I am talking. This alleged horizon. It means this line of water. Let's say.
Okay. So in this picture, image, or whatever, where is that horizon?
There is no horizon. There is only line. I don't know.
He's got the birds disappearing over it, though, hasn't he?
Yes, yes.
Right.
And,
Okay.
so over that distance, whatever it is, let's say 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, I don't know. I didn't measure it, but these seagulls would be not visible anyway.
Okay. So can we sort of say then, where is the? Give us a definition of the horizon.
This is what horizon means. It's limit of our vision.
Is it not where the sky seems to meet the land or the water or whatever, right? True horizon is over water, but
Yes,
other
yes.
than that, you'd have a topographic horizon, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes, of
the
course.
horizon isn't in the middle of a picture ever. What this person has drawn in this picture, and you'll see a lot of people, Ranty did it at Blackpool, Whitsitt went along with it, with these Blackpool one, you know, the famous one where he thanked me for. They're all talking about this mid-picture horizon. A complete fantasy. Doesn't exist. Never has. Never will. The horizon is where the sky seems to meet the land. There's two mountains there.
Yes, and that's the trick, because this guy is saying, now you understand how the sun sets in the flat earth perspective. Of course, sun would be over these mountains, not
Yeah.
the water. So these seagulls are supposedly representing a setting sun, but they cannot, because sun would not set there where these seagulls are. It will set over these mountains. So this is just false image, false image of perspective or whatever, deceiving image, let's say.
Well, it's deceiving. One with the image, but two with the words. He
Yes,
says that's
yes.
perspective according to flat earthers. Now, what does that make you as a non-flat earther think? Right? That flat earthers think something really fucking freaky that you can't even understand. It doesn't even make any sense. Even when you're looking at it, there's something wrong with it. But you have to go through this process of working out what's wrong with it to understand what this person is saying that flat earthers say. Now, I would say nobody believes what he's put in that picture other than him. That's
Can I
what
say what
he
I
believes.
I think?
Yeah, if you want.
Well, the thing is though, I agree with paper. I don't think the true definition that you find in Wikipedia, the dictionaries, even they understood what the horizon is, because it's created by your eye. It I believe is the limit of your vision, because we know the sky doesn't actually touch the ground.
Yeah, it's an apparent position.
It's an apparent distance.
No, it's not. There's no distance. It's just a position.
I would say that it is some distance, because
Yes, I agree with
this is
paper.
just an angle. So this is because this is related strictly to our resolution. So there some objects like sea waves or small sea waves or whatever, if they have just small enough angular size, they are just not
You've
resolvable.
got to be careful with this now, right? Because you will be helping Ruhif.
No.
Yeah, yes, because where's the angle that you're talking about?
I am talking only about angular resolution, because we see sizes in angles with our eyes.
Yeah, but that's not what we're doing here. We're looking at a picture.
Yes, but I am talking about our vision, and our vision involves angular resolution.
It requires trust, doesn't it? Because I can't see what you're seeing. So I can't see the angle, and you can't measure the angle through your eye.
No, I am not talking about measuring angles here. It's just a simple thing that if the thing is going in distance away from you, it's changing angular size, whatever it is, and it's getting
just changing a size, right?
Yeah, yes, but not actual size,
yes,
because
definitely
if
not
you have
actual size, yes. Well, I think that's a given, right? Things don't actually get smaller.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So the only change is in angular size.
But you can't really say it's an angular size unless you're measuring an angle. Because you're just taking the apparent size of something and translating it into an angle that is never measured.
You can measure this angle.
Not unless you get a tool to measure the angle.
Yes, of course. You can do that with, let's say, with camera. You can do that. You can measure, change with angular size, but measuring
That's not the angular size that
it's just
your
the
eye is
actual
seeing.
size.
Yeah,
You'd be
I get what
measuring it
Bev
with
is
a
saying
ruler,
to
not an angle.
No. Angular size has nothing to do with a ruler. Angular size is how, for example, if you have camera or telescope or whatever tool you are using, or even tube without any lens, it's just how much have to tilt your device from one edge. For example, if it is sun, you have to tilt
an angle.
Yes, you have to tilt from right side of the sun to left side of the sun, and you have to tilt your device like 1 degree, 2 degrees, or whatever it is. And this is angular size of object.
But you're not measuring an angle, though. That's the problem.
You are measuring angular size.
You're not measuring anything. You're not even measuring the angle. And you can't do anything with that angle, even once you imagine you've measured something in the distance. It doesn't help you in any way.
You are measuring angle. You have angle between, if you have, for example, on screen of your camera, you have sun. So you can do
like
that.
Like a 2D image.
Yes. That this is all what you are doing.
But you're not measuring an angle from a picture.
You are measuring angular size. It means how
it's
much.
Just the size of an angle, right?
Yes, of course.
But you're not measuring the angle. So how do you know the size of the angle if you don't actually measure the angle? Because you've only got a picture, and you can put a ruler on it, but you can't measure an angle with a ruler.
No, I am not measuring angle with the ruler. I am talking about angular size. And this size of an object is expressed only in the angle. It cannot tell you by itself how big in reality this object is. Absolutely. I am not telling about that. I'm not saying that you can determine actual size of the object by measuring angular size of the object. No, no, it is impossible. But still, you can have this angular size, whatever it is, and it is changing when the object is moving away. It is getting smaller. You have smaller and smaller angular size of the object. And when this angular size of the object is less than your limit of vision, I cannot now remember what it is, like 1 minute or one whatever. So then you cannot resolve. If you have two objects within this 1 minute or whatever it was, I cannot remember now what size it was, they will merge together. This is called Rayleigh criterion. So this is very well known and established thing. Just this is your limit of resolution. So horizon is limit of your resolution. That's it is. And you can ascribe some distance to that, I would say.
Some distance to an angle.
Distance, no.
That's never
distance,
measured.
Distance where your angular resolution is has its limit. And the perfect example is the water, because at some distance you can see only a line, and this line is not.
Ruhif's picture. It's got an angle on it, 5 millirads.
Yes.
So he's measured the air right above there to have an angular size.
No.
That's the angular size, though, right? That's what you're talking about. The angular
absolutely
size.
Not. No. This 5 millirads is just. He's talking about this line, not air. He's talking about line. This is baseline. This line, this crosshair, let's say vertical, is baseline of triangle. And this is real. It is what it is in front of lens of auto level, I think. So he is talking about this line.
Yeah,
visible in the picture.
A line being an angular size. The opposite side angle.
No, angular size means that if you are about to tilt let's say auto level or theodolite to replace the middle, let's say, crosshair with bottom crosshair, you will have to tilt it by this 5 milliradians or whatever it is. So if you want to replace bottom crosshair with middle crosshair, you will have to tilt up this device, whatever it is, by 5 milliradians. This is all what it is.
Wally's saying that is the angular size. The size of the thing in the distance is the angular size. That's what you were saying at the beginning, though, right? It's just the size of the angle that's taken up by the thing in the distance. That's what you call it. What you're doing is you're giving a size, a representation of that line in the distance and relating that to the size of an angle.
I cannot determine what distance would that be, and because I don't know what distance we are talking about, and we cannot.
That's how we started it, though, right? When I said you can't put a distance to the horizon, whereas you said yes, you could, because it was related to that angle. And I said, that's silly, because you can't relate the angle to the opposite side to a line.
Can I just put something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
But our eyes do have a limit, right?
I don't know. What do you mean?
This is called Rayleigh criterion, but this is limit. This is our resolution. This is very well known thing that our eyes and camera, of course, this matrix on camera has pixels and has limited number of pixels, so it has limit of resolution. This is a limit of resolution, which means that you cannot.
Yeah, see, Wally's now saying you don't need to know the distance to know the angular size.
Yes, but it gives you nothing. So angular size give you just angular size.
It's just the size of an angle.
Yes, yes, I agree. And
so it's just basically it's just an angle. But
I agree.
Yeah, but wait a minute. The fact that you call it an angular size, you allow people to relate it to a straight line size in a distance, right? Because size, people imagine the size of something. Actually,
no.
Maybe, what do you mean? No, yes, yes, they do. Okay, so, Wally and Ruhif and everybody else, Nathan Oakley, whenever they hear angular size, they hear a vertical height of something. That's what they do.
Maybe, but they are wrong then, because angular size, it is measurement of the angle, nothing less, nothing more.
Okay, well then let's go to that. If you've got a picture, you don't have a measurement of an angle or a way to measure said angle.
Yes, that's so. On this picture with 5 milliradians, you have this measurement, let's say, just in front of your camera or whatever. So it does not tell you.
Ruhif has just drawn a line on a picture and wrote 5 millirads on it.
Yes, but these lines are just in front of your lens.
Yeah, but still, that isn't an angle. It's just a straight line. It's not an angle, and it's not how you represent an angle. You don't represent an angle with a straight line. It's never done. But yes, saying you can, right, allows people to imagine when they hear angular size, they can relate it to this straight line, because that's what they do. Because that's why it's called angular size. It's not called an angle. It's a trick. It's a magic trick within mathematics to allow people to get away with things that aren't really possible.
Maybe, yes, but I agree. But still, in the name, angular size is only about angle. Nothing less, nothing more. You are just tilting your device at certain angle, and you can measure this angle at which you tilted your device, and this is it. Nothing less, nothing more. This is what angular size is. It is not related, because you are turning your device, so you are making an angle. You are making part of the circle with your device. So you have angle, simple.
In order to do that, you need a measurement tool that can measure angles.
Yes, I agree. Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I am talking about measuring angular size with device which are measuring angles. Yes. And then you have angular size, which gives you just angular size. Nothing less, nothing more. But still, angular size is, let's say, if it is beyond or it is less than our limit of resolution, it will merge. So if you have two objects too small in angular size, it doesn't matter if they are big in reality or small in reality, because only angular size matters. They will merge together, they will converge or merge. So if there are two different objects and they are close enough, if they are close, you can see, for example, two trees. You can see two separate trees, but if they are going into the distance, they are closing to each other, and eventually you will not see the gap between them, and you will see that just only one object.
Yeah.
Because
completely get that, right? I
yeah,
completely
so,
understand. I call it perspective compression.
yes, yeah, okay.
Right?
Normally it is called badly vanishing point. It is not vanishing point. This is called convergence. They are just converging or just merging. They are two objects are merging or converging. Simple. This simple rule of geometry. It works always, and it is connected to angular resolution of our eye, and it has not specifically. It is not specifically related to distance, because if you have a small, really small object just in front of you, like 1 meter or 2 meters, but this is like, for example, 1 millimeter object, so it will merge and converge just in 2 meters in front of you. But if you have big object like tree, the same thing will occur not in 2 meters, but in, like, let's say 2 kilometers. But they will behave the same in perspective. It doesn't matter what real size of the object is, just angular size. So this is limit of our angular resolution. That this is what I said.
Okay. Well, I don't particularly want to hear any of that shit. Because like I said, you saying angular size of something that is never measured as an angle and relating it to the actual size that you see, right? The object, you're saying size relating to the actual size of the object, but you're relating that to an angle, and then that angle never been measuring. People get the understanding that the size of the thing is an angle.
So they understand this wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. I think the words that have been used have allowed people like Wally and Ruhif and Nathan Oakley, all of those people, to put it in the minds of other people, to allow people to think that that line is an angle or has a related angular size to the line on a 2D picture. Because that's the only thing that you ever see this. Whenever you're talking about angular size of something, you never see it in side view. No, never see it in side elevation. You never talk about the angular size of it, do you? Because you can actually see the entire angle as you're looking at it, because the angle stays the same. It's two straight lines. So you never talk about the angular size looking in side profile. But when you put the picture in landscape view, that's when people start talking about the angular size on that picture, the straight line, the vertical.
Yes, I agree. But still, if you have object in front, like here in front of this crosshairs, and it will occupy this 5 milliradians. If you will go away with anything you have, let's say ruler, this ruler will change this angular size, but not real size. And so you would have to tilt less and less your device to go from one extremity of the object to another extremity of the object. This is just language, but what are people doing with that language and how they are translating that into people, I cannot be responsible for that.
Yeah.
Maybe they just don't understand how perspective works. And for example, for me, a good example of someone who doesn't know how perspective works is Brian's logic, because I saw his films about perspective and they are completely wrong. He's showing orthographic view and saying that this is perspective. This is first error which he is doing, and not only him, but many people. They are translating perspective into orthographic view. You cannot understand that way anything. So I agree with you, yes, that this, what I am saying, some people are translating into their wrong understanding of perspective, and other people just cannot understand anything. Yes, and there is mass of confusion here. Yes, I agree with you.
See, here's the problem. It's like you said there, maybe, I don't know what about Brian's logic, but I do know what Ruhif does, right? And perhaps Blue Marble, Chaiki, Wally, all of these people, right? I know Ranty did it definitely for the mountains in Blackpool, right? They get a picture. They then translate that picture to the side view, the elevation profile, right? And then they draw it out, and then they work out the angle at the point, hoping that they've got all of the dimensions and everything right. So they work out the angle, then backtrack it to the camera, right? As though the camera has measured an angle. And then they can say the angular size. But what they're completely forgetting about is the perspective compression to the center, right? But forget about that, right? The problem is that once you allow this angular size to be done, because don't forget, they've done the side elevation profile, got the angle, then they can go back to the picture, like Ruhif's done there, place a straight line on the picture, like a ruler, and then say that is the angular size. They relate that to the angle, because the camera took the picture. So that angle at the camera is within the picture somewhere. So they can relate the ruler on the picture to the angle, the opposite side.
You are completely right. Yes, this is what they are doing.
And that's why I have a problem. Yeah, but that's why I have a problem with the term angular size. Because it is literally the size of the angle.
Absolutely.
And that angle has been calculated, right? But never measured. So the problem I have is when people say angle and don't measure an angle.
I can say why they are wrong. Because as this picture with this 5 milliradians shows us, these crosshairs are just in front of the lens. We can say that there is no distance between lens and these crosshairs. So,
well, they're just in front of your eye, really.
Yes,
the closest to your eye, really.
Yeah, yes. But if you take out or take off these crosshairs from the lens, and you will go with these crosshairs 5 kilometers. So these distances, that would be not 5 milliradians. It would be nothing. So their trick is that they are trying to show you angular size in the wrong way, because angular size of these crosshairs would be completely different in distance. But they are drawing it on the picture. It means like these crosshairs on in the front of the lens. This is their trick, not my trick. I am taking into consideration that these crosshairs, when move out from or removed from, let's say, auto level, they will be smaller. It would be not 5 milliradians. So this 5 milliradians is connected with that distance, zero distance. If these crosshairs would be like 1 meter away from your lens, it would be not 5 milliradians. It would be less, much, much less. If you would go with these crosshairs like 10 meters away, that would be maybe not visible at all. So it would be like 0.1 milliradian or whatever. So this 5 milliradians is only because it is just in front of your eye. You cannot move this into the distance and say that, okay, these crosshairs have 5 milliradians. No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. And this is what they are doing while they are putting this ruler and measuring distances or whatever, or angular size with the ruler. No, they are not measuring angular size of an object, which is distant object, like 5 kilometers, because they are putting this ruler in front of your eye. How can you measure the size, real size of an object, which is 5 kilometers away, with a ruler which is in front of your eye? This is just nonsense, but they are doing that.
Yeah, whatever says it's 5 milliradians at any distance.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can remove, I think, maybe this crosshair and just go with that. You can put a ruler literally on the auto level and measure. And you will go with that ruler away from auto level. And this ruler will be smaller and smaller in the distance. But
whatever
they are not doing
says
that.
It, about half a degree. It's about the same angular width as the moon. Test it by pointing the scope at the moon. I don't think he understands what an auto level is and how an auto level works.
You can move ruler from auto level back and forth, but you cannot do that the same with the moon. So you cannot make an experiment with the moon, sorry. But you can do that experiment with a ruler easily.
How would you imagine? Do you know how auto levels work?
Question for me?
Yeah.
It is what a level? Oh, auto level.
Auto level, yeah.
Well, it is establishing a level, so yes.
Do you know how it establishes the level?
It has some laser, or I don't know what it is. Or some
it has a free floating prism within it, right? That horizontal, makes a horizontal, right? It autos horizontals, makes you sure you're always. That's why you have to keep it in calibration. So whatever has advised, we point it at the moon to check the scope. Now, how would you imagine you would get it to point at the moon?
So we got auto level nonsense, because okay, you have to just remove whole scope from auto level, and
you'd have to lock the floating mechanism, because you can't ever see the moon on the horizon, right? That wouldn't work, because you'd have to point your auto level horizontally. You'd never see the moon there. So you'd have to find some way to lock the fucking free floating mechanism, whatever. I mean, it's a shame, right, that people talk about levels and all of this whenever you're talking about things, and they've not got a single clue on how the tool works and how it exactly establishes a horizontal. So obviously most people haven't got an understanding of what horizontal is. It's a shame.
By the way, why you to use auto level? You can use your camera.
No, because with an auto level, you actually have stadia hairs on it, so you can have a mechanism. But this is the problem, right? Before I came here and I started talking to people, you'd had people like Jesse Kozlowski and I don't know, whoever else was pretending to be surveyors on the FE core guys, right? They were having a backwards and forwards about all of this, and not one of them had ever mentioned stadiometric range finding within these tools, even though they'd shown you pictures taken through auto levels and theodolites, and there'd been stadia hairs in every picture. Nobody had mentioned it. And then everybody started saying about flerspective, right? Again, nobody mentioned about the stadia hairs until we said, hey guys, you do actually know that these tools have a system set up in them that they can actually know the distance of something is away by the size of the thing and relating it to the hairs within the stadia. So then everybody started going, oh, yeah, so now we can see about this angular size of everything that was going like that, right? But now what they're doing is they're relating it to the straight line, because they're so confused about exactly what's happening. Because first off, it was flerspective, and now it's actual stadiometric range finding. But it's mass confusion about the angle.
Yes, I would say that this is most messy topic in this, let's say, arena for years. Because I don't know why, but maybe people just cannot understand.
It's because, I'll tell you why, right? They've had a group of people purposely obfuscating and adding in new words to make it confusing for people to understand. But what we're dealing with here is optics and something in the distance moving away. It's giving us a chance to see range finding, right? It's how the optics work. Everybody knows that. And everybody also knows that optics is visual. It can be tricked. So it's no real point in doing any of this with the optics, because you're never going to measure these things. Everybody knows how it works. Like, as something seems to get smaller, the further away it is. It doesn't actually change size. And it all depends on the temperature and, you know, the terrain, all of that. There's loads of different factors. Most people know all of that. but people still argue about it. But they
Yes,
argue about non-arguments. They never make an actual argument within it.
I would say that they are talking too much about this refraction, this atmospheric conditions, etc. It's just irrelevant. In fact, it doesn't change much. But this angular size is that would be major obfuscation, I would say. Because for me this is clear. But if you are saying that they translate it into something else, then I don't understand. Or maybe this is the cause why they don't understand how perspective works. Maybe this is just a setup to let's say, to prevent people from understanding how perspective works, because perspective works perfectly within geometrical, let's say, laws. So it is normal thing. So when I am saying about angular resolution and angular size, I know what I am talking about. I am not talking about real measurement in straight line of an object like 5 centimeters. So for me, this is clear. But if someone is obfuscating that topic, the burden of proof to do it correctly is on him. So I saw many films that got it wrong, completely wrong. So for me, this is not a problem. But still, angular size, it is something not related with distance by itself, but it is our limit. So that would be a limit of our vision. So horizon at the water, this natural, let's say, horizon or true horizon. So of course, but if the thing is big beyond horizon, like mountain, it can happen that we can see over horizon of water horizon, we can see mountain. It doesn't mean that this mountain is horizon now. No, this water is still horizon. Because the horizon is, the water horizon is still limit of our angular size resolution. But mountain is too big, so it is still visible, and it will be visible all the time because it has big angular size. So why it should disappear from our sight?
Nobody's saying anything about disappearing, right? The problem is, I keep having to point this out, right? We're dealing with models. Now, the model that Ruhip is working off is the one that I've got there, right? The opposite side angle. And that's the model that everybody looks at. Obviously, the opposite way, right? It's just a picture they're looking at. But this is the side view. And this is how stadia hairs work. And as I point out there, that those lines don't equal the angle. The angle is the angle, and those lines get bigger.
Yes.
Right now, also, look at the triangle. Right? It's not half of that triangle. It's the whole isosceles triangle. So when people are imagining an optical view, they shouldn't be imagining a right-angled triangle. But they do, because that's what they've been given by people. When you say size, you're imagining a vertical height of something. But that's not how it works. The angle is to an isosceles triangle, not to a right-angled triangle. And yes, you can have a thing in the middle and say that there is a right-angled triangle. You can say that, But that's not the argument that's being made. The argument is the eye sees with an isosceles triangle.
Yes, I agree. Yes. And I would say that as in this picture, so your first baseline is this crosshair. So you have your first triangle is crosshair. That would be your first baseline. And according to that baseline, you are just measuring in the same ratio.
The angle is never measured.
It is given. So you don't need to measure anything.
That's what I mean. Like I say, it's never measured. Because when people like whatever is in the chat says the angle stays the same no matter the distance, is it an angle?
If we are talking about angle with crosshairs. So crosshairs gives you, it is given. You have a given triangle ready.
A rectilinear angle is the angle measured, the inclination between two straight lines. Where are the two straight lines?
You have, if you have crosshair, so you have just this line is your side between upper crosshair and down crosshair.
So it's an imaginary line from somewhere in your eyeball, right to the top line, and another one from somewhere in your eyeball, wherever your vision comes from, to the bottom crosshair, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now that cannot be measured because your eye is not an angle measuring device, and you could never place an angle measuring device in its place to measure the angle.
Yes, I agree. So that's this angle is given. And this is not measured by an eyeball. So when they are doing this distance between crosshairs, this upper and bottom crossing of the crosshairs, they have it calculated or measured beforehand. So it is not just random place. It should be very, I would say that it has to be very precise position.
See, because all it is it's the relationship between the distance and the size of the object, right? So I would suggest all you would have to do is place an object a certain distance away, right? And then put different eyepieces in the scope until they measure the same distance, a ratio of 1 to 100 in the optics, right? So there never needs to be an angle measured at all, because the entire process is just a representation of the distance, how far away the object is, and the size that appears within the crosshairs, the measurement that's taken within them.
Maybe if they do that in that way, yes, but that would be, let's say, method by trial and error. And so they just did that after many, let's say, attempts, and they established that, yes, okay, this crosshair in that kind of lens and that size of lens, it has to be that size, let's say 5 millimeters or 2 millimeters, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I am okay with that, but it still gives you some angle. It doesn't mean that it has to be measured, but it's still some angle it is, because we have triangle.
Yeah, you could calculate an angle, right? If you wanted to, you could do trigonometry,
yes,
whatever.
Of course.
But the only thing it does is it makes a representation between the actual size measured within the hairs and the distance it is away.
Yes.
Okay, right. So angular size is only something that somebody uses to represent something within that relationship, right? Within this particular, when relating it to specifically to the auto level or the stadia hairs, right? It's just the relationship of two distances within a triangle. Yes, there is a triangle there. But because of the laws of geometry, it doesn't really matter what the angle is. It doesn't make any difference.
Yes, the angle, it is this angle that gives you this ratio, what it is claimed, 1 to 100.
Yeah.
So it has to be some angle to give you that ratio.
Like, again, like you keep saying, it has to be some angle. It doesn't. The lines just have to be in the crosshair, that they represent the distance away that it is, right? In a ratio of 1 to 100.
Yes, but this is some angle, you know, because you have triangle. So this is this between your eye and this crosshair. And the whole job of using the stadia hairs, stadiometric range finding, is to be in line with the crosshairs. So, but in order to that, if you are going away, you have to make your measuring rod bigger and bigger to keep, let's say, alignment with stadia crosshairs. I think I am right. If you are going away, you have to make your measuring rod bigger and bigger, because you have to keep the same, let's say, angular size. And it means that you are enlarging your measuring rod. This is because if you wouldn't, you will diminish your angular size of measuring rod, and that would be useless for you completely.
It doesn't work into the distance. I think we both know that. And
I'm not talking about large
distance.
I'm not talking about large distance. I am talking about operational distance. I don't know how far you can go away with while using this stadiometric range finding.
We've done it, because one of the things that you have to know when you're doing this is, where does the bottom stadia hair hit the floor?
Yes.
Right. So
okay.
where your rod can't go to the floor anymore, right?
Yeah,
the crosshairs are there. That would be one of the components of how far stadiometric range finding works.
Yes, I agree, but I would say that maybe you can just use upper part for that from middle, because it is isosceles triangle, so the height of the of this triangle is going perfectly in the middle. So I would say that you can theoretically, I don't know about practice, but theoretically you can use just upper part, only from mid crosshair to top crosshair, because you will have only to double your size. So if you have, let's say, 10 centimeters from middle to up, you can just make it double. So you have 20 centimeters. Because if you cannot use bottom part of measuring rod because you will have to dig in the earth. I would say that you can use only upper part.
Everybody's agreeing with you, Paper, right? And now I don't know what you're saying other than the fact that you can use this tool for stadiometric range finding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, whatever's agreeing with you. You can use it, and now you haven't done it, and whatever hasn't actually done it. But we have.
Okay. I'm just talking about from what I understand. So that's why I am saying I don't know what real practice is in the field. I cannot tell you anything about that.
A lot of people do talk about stuff that they're just imagining that they haven't actually done. When it has actually been done by people.
All right. I am not arguing that I can do that in the field.
Well, you've got whatever to agree with you. Wally's been agreeing with you as well. All your things
maybe. Well, so I don't care, but still.
See, look, whatever's now saying that if you know the height of Blackpool Tower, you can backtrack to know the angle that was there at your eye.
This is nonsense because the angular distance between crosshairs remains the same because crosshairs are just in front of the lens. So it has nothing to do with angular size of Blackpool Tower, which is like 13 miles away. So just nonsense. When you are putting ruler on the picture, you are putting ruler in front of your eye, because picture is this position of the lens where it is at certain distance. And when whoever does that, like Ranti, when he's putting a ruler on the screen of the computer or real picture, he's putting ruler just in front of the lens. You cannot do anything with that because this ruler
It's just putting a ruler on a picture. Ranti, Ruhif has taught him. And Ruhif has given the ability to teach him because somebody else has fed everybody with this thing called angular size.
Yes, but this is just wrong description of angular size. So some people are just obfuscating this term because this term is very simple and it does not imply anything than what it is description of. This is angular size. It is what it is. Size of an angle, rotation of from point to point. Rotation, not moving in straight line, but by in a fixed position. You have center of your circle, and you are making just portion of the circle, which is called angle. This is it. Nothing less, nothing more.
Yeah, whatever says. Like, look, we know the angular size of the moon.
So what? Okay. So what? Yes, yes. You can move your camera from left to right from the moon. Okay, I have tilted my camera, let's say 2 degrees or whatever it is. I don't know this angular size. So what?
Well, angular size gives you an actual size.
No.
And then you can relate how far away it is. Yeah, because that's all of this idea of Ruhif's opposite side angle.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, yes.
This is why I was saying at the beginning, the moment you say angular size, people imagine the ruler at the other side, the opposite side of the angle, as the size of the angle. That's why they add in size, because obviously an angle is just an angle. So if you add in the size of the angle, you're talking about the size of the thing you're talking about, right? You're relating it to the thing, which has a size. So the angle becomes related to the size of the thing.
Yes, of course, they are doing that, but in fact, it is not. Okay, so you can say that this is just angle. We are changing angle. So changing angle means that you are changing angular size. This, for me, this is the same. If someone like Urchif is doing some mind trick with that, so okay. So
what we have to do is, because we know that, right, we have to be extra special careful, because I want to let everybody know, right, that this angular size is not that bit that you put a ruler on a picture.
Absolutely not.
Right, that's where we want to get away from, right? The angle that is not even measured, it isn't the best way to describe something if you can put a completely false picture in somebody's mind with the words that you're using. You're creating a framework of a bad model to present to people.
Yes, I agree with you. Yes, because you can't do tricks with perspective. So it is easy to trick people with perspective. And adding to that, obfuscation of terminology, yes. So people would say that they understand what they are listening to, but in fact they don't understand, or understand it wrong, which is even worse than not understanding. I would agree with you, but saying angle, I would say measured angle. You can have angular size is just measured angle from, let's say, side to side of the object. This is it.
Whatever's saying, if you know the angular size of something in the picture, it can be used to find angular size of other objects at the same distance. Ridiculous, right?
Yes, completely. Okay,
Why does anybody want to translate something in a picture to an angle? Like, it's ridiculous. You can't even backtrack it, which is what these people are doing. You see, the idea that you can put this angular size means that they can backtrack an angle from a picture, which is ridiculous. Because all you're after is the size of the thing and the distance it is away from you. But that's what they're getting. They're already knowing that, right? So what's the point of what they're doing? This is the whole idea of angular size seems ridiculous because it's a term that never gets measured and it doesn't even get used. It bears no purpose. It bears no meaning, really, other than to try and explain that things get smaller in the distance.
Yes, so they are changing this angular size, which is not real size. This term is operational within optics. It has nothing to do with real measurements in centimeters, meters, etc. Nothing to do with that. But they are trying to mix both together, and that's why it is a mess. You cannot do that. You cannot mess with angular size and real measurements of the size, like using measuring rod. That's why you have to use measuring rod. by
You have to know either the distance the thing is away or the actual size if you have a tool with stadiometric range finding. If you don't have the stadiometric range finding things and you've just got a camera, then you need to know both of them.
yeah, absolutely, yes.
And then if you know both of them, then what use is the angle? It doesn't make any sense for you to add an angle to it anyway.
Absolutely, yes, I agree. So you don't need to do anything because a whole thing you have ready. So if you have distance and you have, let's say, size of an object, size of an object, real size, like in feet. So you have distance in feet and height in feet, let's say. So measuring angle is completely useless. You can't do that, but this is for nothing. But the only thing we know from optics that if you are moving away object within optical device, so in frame of camera or whatever device, it will change angular size. So if you will have to tilt less and less your device to encompass object from left to right or from up to bottom. This is it. This is what means term changing angular size. Because if you are moving away from an object, you have to tilt less and less your device. That's it.
We're talking about, I only deal with the auto level just to teach people stadiometrics. So there's no angles there, and there's no tilting.
I agree. Yes. So this is not connected to auto level, absolutely. Because as you said many times, auto level is not for measuring angle.
Yeah. We like to keep things simple, advanced simplicity. Yeah. So rather than bringing angles into it at all, because I don't think they're needed. I don't think the use of the angular size of something is needed at all whenever you're describing how stadiometric range finding works.
But these rules of optics are just utilized. So in production, let's say. It has to be, because otherwise it wouldn't work. They have to make this optical device to work in one, to give you this ratio. To give you this ratio within stadia hertz, it has to be given angle. In which way they did that, I don't know, and this is completely irrelevant. But of course, you don't need to do that within surveying, absolutely. So angular size and changing of angular size is not, let's say, in usage, this knowledge of that is completely outside of surveying. So this is not for that.
Yeah, so we weren't even talking about it anyway. The idea is today, this is the model affliction, right? So would you say you're afflicted by this angular size thing?
No, it's just, I'm not afflicted. It's just how optics works, and it doesn't prove any model. So this is not for proving any model. So this is just how optics works.
What do you mean how optics works?
Optics works means that way that
we just have a lens and we pick up the image.
Yeah. We have lens, yes. So everything we see in the real world, we see through the lens. So it means
that the angular size of something is just something somebody uses to describe what's going on, right? But you're actually just picking up the image.
Yes, but I'm not talking about image. in particular, because I'm talking about what we see with our eyes. So I'm not talking about pictures or photos, really, because
we see things, right? We don't
yes,
see angles, and we don't
yes,
see angle sizes. We just see the things.
yes, but we can see changing of sizes
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
in our picture, and this is but this is of course not real change of if you are moving let's say soccer ball away from you, this soccer ball is getting smaller and smaller, but it is not in fact.
Everybody understands that, right? That's
Yes,
the way that we can range find, right? To know how
yes,
something, because if it didn't happen, you would never know how far something was away from you. Everything would look like it's right in front of your face or at a
yes,
distance, which is ridiculous, because that
and
requires all sorts of stupid fucking lenses. So the fact is that in reality, we know that as something moves away from us, it appears to get smaller, but doesn't actually get smaller.
absolutely.
Right? There's no argument within that at all.
Yes, so it means only that the same object, so it means that 10 centimeter in front of your eye is bigger than 10 centimeters away from you. Let's say 10 meters away from you. And this is called a changing angular size. We know that this 10 centimeter, let's say ruler, is still the same ruler, but it appears to be smaller. It's just it. So this is what is called changing angular size.
But no, that's
nothing else.
That's what you call it, right? I don't say it's a changing angular size, because I don't see in angles, and I don't relate the size of something in the distance to an angle. I just don't do it. So for me, that seems like a ridiculous statement that doesn't help anybody with anything, in my opinion.
No, I would disagree with, because you have to, if you are looking at distant object, very large object, you don't need to, let's say, tilt your head, because you have big object just in your frame, in your sharp vision. But if you are very close to that big object, you have just literally to move your head. You have to turn your head to encompass the whole object. For example, like wall in your home. If you are just staying in front of your wall, like touching by your nose to that wall, to see edges of the wall, you have to tilt eyeballs and head even. So you have to make this tilt. This is called angular size. So, but if you are away from your wall, you don't need to do that. You even maybe if you have room big enough, you just can see whole wall with edges. So, and you don't need to tilt your eyes. So I would say that this is provable, that it is changing angular size, and it is has application in reality.
Well, I would say, right, in order for you to gain the angle, you're going to need to make some measurements. right? And since you're not going to measure the actual angle, because you're talking about within your eyeball, and eyeballs don't measure angles.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Then it's a calculation of an angle. So that's rather a bad interpretation of something, because you're describing something like third party and relating it back to something that has never been related to it, right? You're relating it to an angle when that's a mathematical term, right? That needs a calculation in order for you to get it.
No, you don't need to calculate. You just need to know that smaller is not bigger. So just you know that angular size is changing with distance to the same object. This is it. This is let's say optical law. It always happens that way. Cannot be otherwise. So and this knowledge of this is giving you some let's say impossibilities. So you can disprove many claims by that, by knowing only that one fact, that
you can't measure the angle, and you're just
no,
using
it
as
doesn't
a
matter.
way to describe the size of something, an apparent size of something due to
yes, yeah,
distance.
but knowing that angular size changes and it's getting smaller and smaller in the distance to this with the same object. I'm talking about object with the same size, real same size. It means that you can disprove claims like Chaiki claim about this Blackpool Tower, which is nonsense, because knowing that, you cannot claim that this 5 milliradians would be in front of the crosshairs. That would be, let's say, give it 1 centimeter distance. Really, that would be like 20 meters in Blackpool Tower or whatever. So you can just disprove that very easily. This argument, let's say argument from Chaiki or Blue Marble Science.
They haven't made an argument.
Yes, they because they cannot. They just
obfuscate something.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I know. There's all sorts of things, right? Now, all we are actually doing here is talking about optics again, right? As though it's not already been worked out. I was hoping Ranty was going to come back, and I thought Wally was getting him for the mountains, because I would really like to have a go with that if anybody wants to do it.
I will say that Ranty and hold this bowler packs are obfuscating, and not only from flat Earth side, also maybe because they don't understand this how optics works, or maybe they understand. But
anybody can talk about optics, right? Because a lot of people have attempted to. Some people claim to be the king of optics and wrote a book on it. Like, all sorts of people have all sorts of opinions, especially on the optics, right? But only a certain few people seem to speak out about it, right? But there's a lot of people that are experts at optics without actually doing anything. Like, just because they've heard arguments coming from people around this arena, the model for their optics arguments has been given to them. That's what I'm trying to get at here, right? It's up to other people to think about shit for themselves and to work stuff out for themselves, not to listen to other people's arguments about what they imagine other people have said. Because when, like we've explained tonight, the angular size hasn't really got anything to do with what you're actually doing when you're talking about perspective. Everybody knows things get smaller in the distance, but they don't actually get smaller. It gets ridiculous the amount of times that you have to actually say this shit, right? And because a fear that some people will say, oh, he thinks it actually gets smaller as it gets further away.
That's what
like
they imply.
Stupid fucking non-arguments.
Absolutely. I would only recommend because, for example, people are making pictures, but they don't really know how perspective works and how optics works. I would recommend.
Nobody actually needs to know how it works, right?
Yes,
because it's fucking bullshit. It's just optics. You can't prove anything with anything to do with optics. It's all based on trust. And even if you have a picture of something, you could still be fooled by it. It means nothing whether people know how it works or don't know how it works, because it doesn't actually work. It's just something that happens.
Yes, no, I would say that optics works as always, but you cannot trick your eyes. You can trick only mind with picture. But I would recommend to just, let's say, to read a manual of for photography, as I did. I have some very old, like from 50s. So it was my father's manual into photography. So no problem, just read. Or maybe there is some online, I don't know. So it is very, very useful. It explains how optics works, and it works always. Or just to ask photographer, real professional photographer, they have to
oh wow, Wally says optics is a science, but apparently, Wally, the angles, that's geometry, that's a deductive, that's not science. So you'd have to remove the angular geometric to optics in order to keep your science, Wally, in true sense of science. I would say, Wally, you're fucked. There's no way you can have optics as a science without geometry. You're screwed. And you can't entertain geometry into optics, Wally, if you're going to fuck about with geometry actually in reality. Like, you're screwed.
Yes, because this is deductive thinking, so this is not for science, not for modern science. So you cannot use geometrical optical proofs or whatever, because it is deductive. Sorry, it is not a science. So that for whereas Wally, it would be not a proof at all. So don't bother with optics.
Yeah, Wally. I don't, I know you get shy, Wally, and I know you like to chat skank all the time, but you should really come in. This is one of those stolen concept type things. Really. I think you've been bullshitted by people like Ranty, looking at pictures, imagining you can turn that into a science, and doing angles, adding to Ruhif, getting angular size and putting rulers on pictures. It's all completely imagined within this tiny little arena that you've got here, right? This earth shape thing with all of your earth shape arguments that aren't really arguments over shit that it isn't even needed. There's no sufficient cause for any of this. And plus, there is already known perspective geometry, right? There's a way of you even drawing plans to see what it would look like in reality. Isometric. There's all of these sort of things. They're known how to make things look in reality.
Yes, for example, this is a very important part in computer games. If you have to represent, let's say, real world, as you can see on the screen. You can see, for example, you have a town, or and you are in the car and you are riding this. You are driving the car, and the whole these buildings and roads, etc. They have to look natural. It means it should look like in real life. So these people have to know how to use these perspective, let's say, perspective laws in the game to create this visual effect of reality. So it has to be realistic. So they have to know how perspective works, at least at some degree, because otherwise we would see that, okay, this is not real. I don't like this game because this it doesn't look realistic. If they can create realistic scene for the game, it means that they can grasp how perspective works, because otherwise these games would not look realistic at all. And in fact, back in the day, they didn't. But they are improving. So let's say they are improving their knowledge about perspective too. So these games are looking more and more realistic.
Yeah, still computers, right?
Yes, but still they have to because you can see, if you can see in the game, you can spot errors in perspective, bad lighting, and whatever. That this is not natural. So you can say that, okay, this game doesn't look realistic. For example, this perspective is too close, this is too wide, this is not how angular change is in real life when I am, for example, riding or driving a car. So you can spot that this is not realistic, or it is realistic. You can compare to real life, how you can see perspective in real life and in the game. So you can judge that this game is not realistic, has not realistic perspective, for example. You can say that. I can spot that, at least.
Yeah, like I say, I never give a shit about optics, and I've always thought that there are things that people inject into this conversation by people that aren't experts in optics. They've only ever dealt with like the practical argument side type of it, and then their understanding doesn't come down to the first principles, which we deal with here, right?
Yes,
nobody really can understand the optics if somebody's messing about with stuff about
absolutely
all sorts of angular size, right? Because there are people that are geometrically illiterate, right? They get a fear of that because they link it to mathematics and stuff that they don't understand. So adding something in to something that everybody can talk about, right? Everybody can talk about what they see. And there shouldn't be anybody that has to link what they see to mathematics, because it's not needed.
Maybe, but if we are talking about perspective, you know, as long as we are using lens, it, these geometrical, simple, very simple geometry is applied. And I read some things about optics and whole diagrams about optics, how optics works, are geometrical. So
yeah, I mean, you can explain it, and the best way to explain perspective is to put a camera on the back of an auto level and then watch somebody with a measuring rod actually walk away from the thing. You see the size change. You can measure the size change yourself. You can make the geometric understanding between the two. Yes, between what you see and the measurement and the size change.
Yes, and even without auto level, you don't need auto level for that. Just camera. You can move away with a measuring rod, and this measuring rod will change angular size,
which is what we've done.
Yes, so this, it's not, and you don't need to measure really. You just can notice that you are or object is changing angular size.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. This is what it is needed.
And when we did do that, they took a screenshot and then started talking about Blackpool Tower in the distance, right? So the idea that whatever you actually do gets completely ignored and obfuscated into something that it's not, to put a distraction, goes along the same as angular size.
Yes, because I think they are relying on ignorance of many people. So that's what they are doing.
It's the adding the angular size to something adds to that ignorance, right? Because there are a lot of people out there that have been taught, let's say taught, they've been put down as though you don't understand mathematics. It's okay because it's got confusing and you don't understand the math, so you can't sort out the logic, and it's okay, it's not for you, so you can do something else and move away from this mathematics, right? Which allows a certain group of people to be able to jump in and say that they do understand it. Right? And then if they start talking about how they do understand it and they start using terms like angular size, then the people that don't understand it aren't going to be helped by something that isn't related to whatever it is that they're doing anyway. Yes, it's not going to help anyone.
Yes, but still I am in position that because Globers, let's say, like Ranti, or they are just hijacking term and they are turning this term angular size into something that it isn't. And then they are teaching, let's say, audience.
Well, I was thinking Nathan Oakley. That's where I've heard it the most, right?
Yes, or misunderstanding, or they just repeating, let's say, narrative.
Flat Earth society, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's both sides of people use it to obfuscate.
Whoever it was, or it is deliberate, confusing, or just bad understanding. They are just hijacking this term, turning into something else, presenting this. This is how optics works. And ignorant people are learning bad things. But still, I am in position that because normal meaning of that term is like angular size, nothing to do with orthographic view and nothing to do with real size of an object. So
can I just but in here, right? Blue Marble says, here's an idea. Why don't you learn the frigging, I don't know why he has to swear, frigging math. But Blue, is a problem or a contradiction you might have found yourself in now. Mathematics is based upon deductive logic. And apparently, deductive logic isn't scientific.
Yes, according to Francis Bacon, yes.
Mm-hmm. So
and modern science.
Why would we need to learn math that isn't scientific? Because I take it you want to do something with the math to relate to reality, but if it's not scientific, like new science anyway, or are you going to have the use of deductive logic within your science that doesn't actually use any deductive logic? I'm struggling. I don't know. It seems a little bit topsy-turvy, doesn't it, within this Blue Marble science?
He's just trolling, I think. But still, I am in position that to defend original, like in logic, are old terms, old words, old meaning, because now many people are just changing meaning of words. Like, for example, here, angular size into something else, and then I have to fight back because some people understand this term differently. So this, yes, I'm in hard position, but still I have justification to use that term. It is not what Flat Earth Society or Bowlers or whoever is telling that our angular size is. It is not. It is just size of an angle, as you said. Yes, angular size is size of an angle. Just it. Never was anything else.
Yeah, in reality, we know that you can do fuck all with an angle, and angular size is just the size of an angle. It's a double term. It's not needed. It's one of those ones like when somebody says a flat plane. Like, there's no point in adding that extra thing in because it makes no difference to the original thing. It's a useless term that's added on to allow people to think there's something else added on to it, in my opinion.
Yes, and we can know that this angular size or size of an angle changes with distance. So the same object is changing his angular size with distance. Bigger distance, the smaller angular size of the same object. This is it.
Blue Marble's talking about some math for 12-year-olds. I don't know why they always end up talking about children. But, I mean, he doesn't ever state it. He's just talking about trig, which is a triangle with 180 degrees. I'm taking it. Sine, cos, everybody knows that. Yep. There they go. They're talking about using sine and cos, and I'm not too sure whether they understand where that comes from, because these globe mathematical geniuses, right? Because just when I say I'd rather try and take the math back to first principles, me personally, because people do get confused by maths. And there are people that use maths to be able to try and confuse people, because they laud this thing like we were talking about with Ruhif. They laud this like the way that they think they can come over here and talk down to people, because they can imagine they've put us in a box, bit like Ruhif and Fight the Flat Earth. These people put us into a little model box that they've got, and then because of that, they think they can ridicule people by saying ridiculous mathematics stuff, by assuming that nobody understands it like they do. But their logical system that they have to use, they're not aware of. They're not aware of the contradictions and the indiscrepancies that they have built into their own model. Everybody's like that. But this particular group of people that seem to be talking to me are the ones that, well, they're going to have to, eventually they're going to have to come clean with their understanding of it, because it is very simple what we're talking about here, or what I'm talking about, and what I will be talking about in the coming weeks and months. I don't know why people are trying to prove a globe and all of that. We've told everybody now, right? The model is only in your mind. And you guys, once you start talking about things, you let everybody know the model that you're working on by the way that you talk about your model. And I'm beginning to see different people and the effects that the models have had on the psyche of people. I think that's where we're going to have to be going. Always looking to the lights in the sky. It doesn't, if that's what you want to be doing, like, but what's the argument about the lights in the sky?
You shouldn't use the lights in the sky to prove it.
For me, lights in the sky are only for like measuring time. So they are good for that because they have constant rotation. So we can, sun is for days, moon is for months, and the stars are for years. So
seasons,
simple. Seasons or years,
yeah,
whatever. But still, this is clock. Let's say we have clock above our head. It works perfectly, and that's it.
And people have stopped looking up as well. Too much light pollution, mainly too many clouds. But I mean, it doesn't really make any difference to anybody nowadays. People have watches, clocks, phones for time.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows that, you know, you've got a calendar, and nobody looks at the stars. So
yes, so
anybody that uses celestial navigation must be, they're like so many centuries out of fucking date. Like quite a few, I would imagine.
yes.
Like back in the day when algebra was expressed in word form.
That would be interesting, that they would use the same methods from 300 years ago. So, Okay, I am off to bed. Good night.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Eye to paper. Right. So, I don't know whether
My favorite.
It wasn't meant to be like that. I don't know where that went. I was meant to be doing a model thing. I guess that's going to have to be coming up over the next few weeks. I don't know why it got into an optics thing. It seems a little bit weird at sometimes. Yeah, people are, people do get afflicted by the model, but I mean, again, I would have to iterate, right? There's nothing you can do with optics other than like measuring the time and things like that, right? But there's nothing else. You can't measure distances. There's no angles, and if you can measure an angle, you've just got an angle, and you can do fuck all with that. If you want to measure a distance, you measure a distance. If you want to measure a height, you measure the height. Geometry is useful. Trigonometry is useful. But for looking at pictures, not at all. For looking at things with your eyes, you have a job doing any geometry with your eyes. I mean, you could do it, you know, theoretically, you do geometry in the mind. So you could sort of work things out, but you need to have something to relate it to in order to do any of the geometry. And the model that I think what we've been dealing with is this model of the angle. It's a trick. I'll try and explain it in ways if I'm allowed to. But the idea of an angle added into everything is one of the biggest magic tricks that everybody gets pulled over their eyes. Stefan Mudd, what's the use of you guys? Why is that? Why you listen? So you can just misrepresent absolutely everything. It's a joke.
Yeah, I have it already on my desk.
Hot mic rub.
Okay, you bet.
I'll get it. Right. Have you ever done it, Blue? Have you developed some sort of a surveying thing? I don't know. We're not doing question and answers on leveling that you haven't done, Blue. We're dealing with advanced simplicity from here on in. The basics. Once we get done with the realizing Euclid properly, and all of the other basic concepts that we're going to be dealing with, we'll have ditched that model, Blue. Like, we'll ease people through, but by the time we get to that, it will be plainly obvious what trigonometric leveling is, and the fact that you guys are just trying to use terms to confuse people, and you've been doing it for ages, and people have done it to you, Blue. You've been handed a paralogism that's not going to help you, and you're just pushing the same paralogism on all of your friends. Anybody knows that they can come into this Discord server and have a conversation, and we will work these things out. You will come out of this place with a better knowledge about the simplicity and the understanding of the simple things that you can then build upon yourself. Do a 1 + 1. All right. Okie dokie. Now, tomorrow is the well, it'll be a short one, and then we'll be going into introduction to Western philosophy. It's getting interesting, and we're going to do Descartes and the Cartesian coordinate system, if you want to know how we started and how we got here through the mathematics and the philosophy. Might be interesting for you to come and join us. We will probably end up doing a recap of all of this, because I particularly want to do the story of how I believe the big tricks have been played and how simple and easy it is for you to confuse people and lead people within a philosophy, which is just a way of thinking, and how easily that can be led by other people. Yeah, I hope to have you there, flat fact, because it's getting into the really interesting stuff now. We've dealt with the proper early stuff and we're getting more modern now. Bacon last week was proper modern stuff. And this is the development from Bacon into the new stuff. It's getting really interesting. So yeah, join us for that tomorrow. Let me sort a song out, Buster. Anybody? Oh, like listen to these. Now, Buster. Everybody knows that Buster's been Buster's wrote these songs. He wrote these songs while he was in the Discord about the conversations that we have about the roads that we're going to be taking. So if you really listen to the words in this is where the journey begins. Right here for me. My learning and all of that's all started, finished. But now it's not even finished. This is where it all starts. This is where I'm opening up to everybody. This is where it all begins. And come and join us tomorrow with the philosophy. Should be some good changes coming if I can get myself together. Join us tomorrow.
It's the echo in your brain. You know you can't sustain the misconceptions in your mind. One day you'll see for sure what all of this was for. Then you can leave it all behind. The journey begins. I am the one, yeah, that will show the proof. I am the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. I am the whispers of the logic in your mind. I am an agent of the Logos. In the beginning was found this thing that cannot speak. It's how we all truly learn. It's only ever attained when one lets go of fear. So don't let wisdom pass you by. The journey begins. I am the one here that will show the proof. I am the one here that is searching for the truth. I am the whispers of the logic in your mind. I am an agent of the Logos. It was there all along. How could I never have seen this thing that's danced all around? It wasn't until I left behind the things I believed that I could see things so clear. The journey begins. that will show the proof. Become the one, yeah, that is searching for the truth. Become the whispers of the logic in their minds. Become an agent of the Logos. Become an agent of the Logos. We are the agents of the Logos.